In '88, the house belonging to my husband's first love was demolished for redevelopment. She received $8 million in compensation for the demolition. When I heard the news, I was envious, and couldn't help but blame myself for being too slow. The landlord had clearly told me I was the only one who had viewed the place, yet his first love beat me to it and bought the house. My husband sneered upon hearing this. Don't be jealous. Sherlon just got lucky. She bought the place and then it got marked for demolition. If it were you, who knows. Later, I toiled for my husband's family my entire life. Just before I died, my first love came to see me. Seeing me lying in that cramped, damp little room, her eyes widened in disbelief. She suddenly grasped my hand, overwhelmed with gratitude. I can't believe you went through all that trouble for me. You helped me find a place and even had your mother use her entire pension to buy it outright for me. I'm so grateful. I was so furious I could have died on the spot. So that's why the house was suddenly bought. No wonder my mother, a retired professor, has been reduced to scavenging for a living. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment I bought the apartment. After signing the deposit contract and stepping out of the housing authority, I leaned on the railing, feeling a huge weight lift off my shoulders. The property deed would be processed in a month. This house has to be mine in this lifetime. At this time in my previous life, I was running all over town, asking around, and looking at countless properties. In the end, I narrowed it down to a choice between two houses. Over dinner, I laid out all the details and prices of the two properties for my husband, Julia, to get his opinion. Before I could even finish describing Unit 1, Julia dismissed me with a wave, telling me to just buy whichever, insisting one place was as good as another to live in. I stubbornly pressed on. When I mentioned that Unit 2 was on West Street in Changbai District, he looked up in surprise and asked me to confirm the address. Without a moment's hesitation, he then ordered me to purchase Unit 1, grabbed his coat, and hurried out the door. After a night of deliberation, I decided to visit both properties in person one more time before making my final decision. But the very next day, the landlord informed me that Unit 2 had already been sold. Feeling dejected, I had no choice but to buy Unit 1. Not long after, Unit 2 was slated for demolition, and its value skyrocketed from $8,000 to $8 million. The new owner turned out to be my husband's first love. She remained the unforgettable white moonlight in his heart. Jing Sherlon. She rose to become the most prominent tycoon in our entire city, living a carefree life. Her days were spent singing and dancing, with nannies taking care of the children and all household chores. On top of dealing with my difficult in-laws, I was also responsible for Julia's every need. Buried under a mountain of chores, I couldn't help but envy Jing Sherlon's good fortune and resent my own hesitation. The landlord had clearly told me I was the only one who had viewed the place, which is why I felt so at ease and didn't put down a deposit. To my utter shock, the apartment was sold just one night later. Julia shot me an exasperated look upon hearing my sigh. Don't be jealous, Sherlon just got lucky. Her place was bought and then immediately marked for demolition. If it were you, they probably wouldn't have torn it down. Don't you know how powerful your bad luck is? I was left speechless by his retort. After that, Julia and I had less and less to say to each other, and he became increasingly reluctant to come home. He always said he was too busy with work, leaving the entire household for me to take care of. I never had a moment's rest. Either my in-laws were calling for me, or the children needed something. In the end, the constant strain took its toll, and I fell seriously ill at just 50. Just before I died, Jing Sherlon came to see me, bringing a basket of fruit. She wore a beautifully draped wool coat, her dark, curly hair tied up in a loose, full bun. Despite being in her 50s, she looked as elegant and lovely as someone in her early 30s. Seeing me lying in the cramped, dim, and damp room, she was terrified. What a surprise. Then, with heartfelt sincerity, she grasped my hands, overwhelmed with gratitude. Man, you're incredible. Thank you so much for helping me find a place back then, and even convincing your mom to use her entire pension to buy the house outright for me. She was so overcome with emotion she could barely speak coherently. She said she had no idea I was living in such a modest place myself, yet I had been so incredibly generous to her. She was at a complete loss for how to ever thank me enough. Finally, she leaned weakly against Julia's chest and sobbed. With man in this state, I just can't live with myself holding on to that $8 million in demolition compensation. So that's how it was. It turned out Julia had known the inside information about the impending demolition of the No. 2 houses district all along, but had been struggling to find an available property. When he unexpectedly learned from me that the No. 2 house was for sale, he was absolutely over the moon. He went straight to my parents' home, swindled my mother out of all her pension savings, and rushed off with Jing Sherlon to buy a house. He specifically told my mother not to tell me about the pension, saying I was too sensitive and would be upset if it came out, so my mother kept it from me all along. No wonder my mother, a university professor, had to resort to scavenging to make ends meet after retirement. Lying on the decrepit, rotting wooden bed, I was so enraged that I coughed up blood on the spot. Demanding answers from Hualia with bitter resentment, his tone was light and utterly indifferent. You can endure hardship, but Sherlon is different from you. You're on your deathbed now. Why bother holding on to this? In the end, I was literally angered to death. My spirit drifted above, watching as Hualia moved in with Jing Sherlon. The moment I took my last breath, their life together was harmonious and sweet, the picture of envy. So all these years Hualia never came home. He was at Jing Sherlon's grand villa, taking care of her. He only married me to have someone tend to his difficult in-laws and deal with those poor, tiresome relatives from the countryside. His heart ached for Jing Sherlon, and he couldn't bear to see her troubled by such trivial matters too. Doing a quick calculation of the time, he realized his mother's pension had already been swindled away by Hualia. I must go back and get my mother's pension back. As I opened the door and heard a sound from inside, I instinctively softened my footsteps. It's all Ching Man's fault. She clearly told me the house hadn't been sold. Don't worry, I'll look for another place in that area for you. While speaking, Hualia placed the peeled shrimp in his hand into Jing Sherlon's bowl. Leah, you're so good to me, sharing such important news about the impending demolition in Changbai district. Don't worry, I'll make time to go look for a place there in the next few days. Jing Sherlon looked up, and our eyes met unexpectedly. Ahem, man, you're back. She averted her gaze, fidgeting uncomfortably as she tightened her grip on her chopsticks. Not even reaching for the food, Hualia patted her shoulder and smiled warmly at me. Come and eat. I made your favorite braised prawns in brown sauce today. But I didn't miss the expertly concealed disgust in his eyes. Seeing my composure, Jing Sherlon relaxed and, like the lady of the house, invited me to stay for dinner, praising Hualia's cooking skills and saying how lucky I was. Hualia came up behind me and, while massaging my shoulders, probed to see if I had anything to do with the house being sold. So you took Jing Sherlon over there, only to find you were too late. Is that it? Thinking of this, I could only feel grateful that my rebirth had come at just the right moment. Which one? Unit 2. I played dumb. So it's sold. What's the big deal? Didn't you say that place was nothing special anyway? Hualia's face darkened, and I twisted the knife further. You're being so strange. It's their house. They can sell it if they want. Why are you taking it out on me? Is there something shady about that property? Hualia immediately clamped his mouth shut. My heart grew even colder. All those years of effort, wasted on a beast worse than swine or dogs. Unit 2 was sold. He was looking for a place in that area for Jing Sherlon, but he couldn't bring himself to tell me the truth. Worried I'd go looking too and end up competing with her. I must have been blind to marry such a rotten man. After the meal, Hualia went into his room, took out a stack of cash, and practically forced it into Jing Sherlon's hands. It was all the money he had managed to save recently. Jing Sherlon shot me an uneasy glance and cautiously explained, Man, please don't be upset. This is just a loan. I'll pay it back. It looked like unease, but it was really a provocation. But some people are just blind and heartless. Hualia's heart immediately went out to her. Borrow? Don't even mention it. Back when I was hanging by a thread in the hospital, you didn't hesitate to cover my medical bills. I haven't even repaid you for that. I shrugged indifferently. Sure, borrow it. Just remember to set aside enough for your mother-in-law's hospital fees and a caregiver. Hualia finally couldn't hold back anymore and lashed out at me in a fury. What do you mean by that? You have money too, don't you? You married me, so my mother is your mother now. How can you refuse to pay her hospital bills and not even want to take care of her? What kind of daughter-in-law are you? Jing Sherlon stood by, nodding eagerly like a little chick, putting on an act of perfect obedience. If it were me, I'd be willing to hand over my entire salary to my mother-in-law and take care of her at home. A flicker of tenderness passed through Hualia's eyes, but when his gaze shifted to me, it turned into pure loathing. Just look at Sherlon, and then look at yourself, you heartless, ungrateful wretch. Then let's get a divorce, and you can marry her. Hualia's objection was particularly decisive. That's out of the question. Why not? I retorted. He fell silent. Jing Sherlon was utterly dejected, forcing a smile to smooth things over. Man, don't joke like that. Saying such things hurts. Leah, you two are the married couple. TSK, true love indeed. Isn't it just that he pities Jing Sherlon and doesn't want her to suffer the torment from his parents and relatives at the Hua family? Who's joking with you? Mother-in-law is being discharged tomorrow. You borrowed the money, so we can't afford a nanny. Why don't you come take care of her for a few days then? You're so attentive. You'd be perfect at looking after her. Hulia objected firmly. What about your salary? Isn't that enough to hire a nanny? Sherlan is my friend, not your slave. My salary. I was so angry I could only laugh. Hulia was the one who said it himself back then. We'd keep our money separate later, when we needed to buy a house. I had to beg him repeatedly before he agreed to set aside a little for me to save each month. What? His money can be spent on romantic escapades with Xing Sherlan, but mine has to be used to subsidize the Hua family. You said it yourself. That's my salary. You're her own son. And if you don't have the money to take care of her, I certainly don't. You. Hulia's breathing grew rapid as he pointed at me, unable to speak for a long moment. Suddenly, a glint flashed in his eyes, and he became calm and composed. After all these years of marriage, I know exactly what he's up to. It's just mom's pension. He doesn't actually think there's such a thing as a free lunch, does he? 3. The next day I came home from work. My mother-in-law had already been discharged from the hospital, and Xing Sherlan was dutifully bringing her water and helping her take her medicine. My mother-in-law took a sip and immediately spat it out. It's scalding hot. Are you trying to burn me to death? Xing Sherlan hurriedly added some cool boiled water to the cup and respectfully handed it to her again, then went to fetch the mop to clean the floor. Before she could even put the mop down, she was ordered to go cook. During the meal, the mother-in-law took just one bite. It was so spicy it made her eyes water. When she stood up, she accidentally pulled at her wound and cried out in pain, pointing at Xing Sherlan's face. She started yelling, "Are you here specifically to bring me bad luck?" Xing Sherlan stood helplessly by the table, sobbing pitifully. Just then, Hulia returned. After hearing the whole story, he blamed his mother for deliberately stirring up trouble. I curled my lips in a sneer. Whenever I had a disagreement with my mother-in-law, he would always side with her unconditionally. His only response was, "My mother raised me. It wasn't easy for her." My mother-in-law was so shocked her pupils constricted, and alarm bells went off in her head. I want Xing Man to take care of me, that witch has no business setting foot in the Hua family. I understood my mother-in-law's mindset. Anyone who could make Hulia contradict her was her enemy. She couldn't stand to see him dote on any woman other than herself, but in her past life, she certainly didn't treat Xing Sherlan this way. Back then, she kept telling me, over and over, that Xing Sherlan was clever and beautiful, and she wanted her to be her daughter-in-law. Seeing that Hulia didn't react, my mother-in-law grew so frantic she couldn't even eat her meal. "Son, you mustn't let this little temptress turn your head. She's clearly a loose woman, who knows how many men she's been stringing along out there." "Mom, that's enough." Hulia wouldn't tolerate anyone insulting Xing Sherlan, his first love and the one who got away. "Sherlan isn't even family, yet she's willing to take care of you. Instead of being grateful, you hit and scold her." He pressed his fingers to his temples in irritation. "Xing Man is your daughter-in-law. Do you see her volunteering to look after you?" "Hulia, I'm standing right here. And you're already slandering me." I let out a sigh. "Mother-in-law, it's not that I don't want to take care of you. It's just that Leah hired Sherlan as a nanny, 80 yuan a month. That's more than a regular worker's salary." "What?" The mother-in-law exploded. 80 yuan, to hire her. She immediately slapped Xing Sherlan across the face. "What kind of love potion did you give my son?" The three of them started brawling, even knocking over the dining table. After watching the dog-eat-dog drama, I slung my bag over my shoulder and headed out the door, absolutely delighted, ready for a feast. For after that day, Hulia spent all his free time looking for an apartment for Xing Sherlan. He wanted to give her a compensation apartment from a demolition project, to give her a sense of security and make people think twice before mistreating her. He's a lot more enthusiastic about this than he was when I first brought up buying a house. Back then, he just tossed out a whatever you want, nothing like now, where he's hands-on with everything. 2 weeks later, after my shift at the textile mill, I had just stepped out the main gate when Hulia stopped me. He suddenly stepped forward and embraced me, his warm breath brushing against my neck. Man, I know you're the one who bought Unit 2. I consulted a master, and he said that you owning it is bad for my fortune. Only if you transfer it to Sherlan will my luck turn around. Go to the property bureau right now and put the apartment in Sherlan's name." As he released me, his gaze was filled with deep affection. "You don't want me to die, do you? I prefer Unit 1. It's closer to the school, which will make dropping off and picking up the kids so much easier when we have them." Hulia stated it as a simple matter of fact, without a hint of guilt or hesitation. He knew perfectly well just how much I had always loved him in the past. If he said something, I would never have refused. What's more, it's a matter of his personal safety. He was absolutely certain. After speaking, Hulia looked up at me, his gaze growing sharp. For the better part of the month, He had been running around the West Street area of Changbai district looking for a place to live. The housing supply there was already tight, and after internal news of demolition plans leaked, a flood of buyers rushed in. He had been searching for over half a month without finding a single available property. Coincidentally, he ran into the landlord of Unit 2, whom Ching Man had mentioned before, while inquiring about listings. His wedding photo with Ching Man fell out of his wallet and was seen by the landlord. The landlord was utterly baffled, exclaiming, "Didn't Ching Man already buy my apartment? Why is he looking to buy another place in this area now?" Hualiya's blood boiled the moment he heard it. Ching Man had deceived him. How dare that bitch lie to him? Ching Man had never lied to him before. "I can't believe after working a few years and saving a little money, you've grown a backbone." "No, I won't. I consulted a master too, and that house is the most auspicious for me. If you're afraid of dying, we can just get a divorce." Hualiya's face darkened, his voice as cold as ice shards. "Divorce? Don't even think about it." After a moment, his expression softened. "What I mean is, I love you. I can't live without you." We both fell silent. I was so disgusted by his words that I didn't even want to speak. On the way back, Hualiya was lost in thought. He was probably figuring out how to get me to hand over the house, so he could give it to Xing Shirlan to win her favor, but his scheme is doomed to fail. 5. Just as the landlord was preparing to move out, news of the impending demolition spread. It was much earlier than in my previous life. Fortunately, the landlord was reasonable. He marveled at my good luck and didn't make a fuss about demanding a share of the compensation. The thought of soon having a fortune made my heart leap with joy. Even the flowers and plants on the roadside seemed exceptionally lovely. Passing by the supply and marketing cooperative, I went in and bought a box of peach shortbread to celebrate. I hadn't walked more than a few steps out when I suddenly spotted Xing Shirlan sobbing behind a roadside willow tree, with Hualiya tenderly wiping her tears, his eyes full of heartache. "Wah, Leah, that 8 million in demolition compensation should have been mine. Why does Ching Man always take what's mine? She stole you away before, keeping us apart even though we loved each other, and now she's taken the demolition money that was rightfully mine." She wept until her voice was hoarse, burying her head in Hualiya's chest, her hand resting on the small of his back, tracing slow circles. "Leah, you're the only one who can help me. You know how frail I am. I can't do heavy work. Those people always pick on me because I have no one to rely on. If I didn't have you, I might as well be dead." As she spoke, she suddenly sprang up from Hualiya's embrace and made a beeline for the nearby lake. "What are you doing? What would I do if you died?" Hualiya roared in a low, fearful voice, his grip on Xing Shirlan's hand iron tight. He lifted Xing Shirlan's chin and kissed her deeply. Xing Shirlan's body stiffened for a moment before she passionately returned his embrace. The two of them kissed passionately by the lake, like a couple deeply in love. Moments later, a flushed Xing Shirlan was sitting on Hualiya's lap. Hualiya affectionately stroked her fair, smooth cheek and promised that once the demolition compensation came through, he would give her 4 million to live out the rest of her days in comfort, free from anyone's judgment. Xing Shirlan struggled to contain her overwhelming joy, lowering her gaze to feign concern. "Will Ching Man agree? Won't she be heartbroken? I don't want to ruin your marriage. As you said, she and I are husband and wife. The compensation money is half mine. When I give you my half, her agreement or disagreement won't change a thing." Xing Shirlan gazed at Hualiya with admiration, playfully thumping his chest. "Leah, thank you. You're a real man who stands tall and firm. I love you." Listening to their plans made me so sick to my stomach that I couldn't even eat my peach pastry. I hope they don't start crying when the loan comes due. 6. "Come on, let's go sign the papers." Hualiya urged me first thing in the morning. I yawned lazily. "Sign what? Are you still half asleep?" "We're going to the demolition office to sign today. After that, we can collect the compensation money." I looked at him strangely. "Do we have a house that's being demolished?" Hualiya went on tying his tie by himself. "Don't play dumb. West Street in Changbai district is being redeveloped. You bought a place there before. Get up. Are you still half asleep? That's my mom's house." At that moment, I once again marveled at my own foresight. If the house is under my name, wouldn't he be entitled to half the compensation when it gets demolished? Is he even worthy of that? As if Hualiya was stunned, completely dumbfounded. "What are you talking about? My mother-in-law bought the house. She paid for it." "That's right. Have you lost your mind? We used our joint savings to buy it. Why on earth is it under her name?" He dragged me towards my parents' house. "We're going to change the name on the deed right now. Honestly, my mother-in-law is so inconsiderate. At her age, you'd think she'd know better. But all she does is create trouble for us younger ones." Hualiya was utterly exasperated. I shook off his hand. "My mother paid for that apartment. If her name isn't on the deed, who should be? Yours." And you say I bought it. With what money? Don't think I don't know. We saved up exactly 8,000 for the down payment, and Unit 2 costs precisely 8,000. I threw the IOU he wrote to my mom right in his face. You took money from my mom, so of course I have to pay her back. What? Is my mom supposed to earn money for this family too? My mom is a retired university professor. She receives the highest tier pension, which is 108 yuan a month, and she had savings of over 8,000 yuan. Hualia was insatiably greedy. He took 8,000 from her, leaving her with only 100 or 2 in spare change. Now, I'm returning the down payment savings we accumulated together to my mom. It's a perfect match. By the way, the 8,000 we saved, we split it in half. I reached out my hand. You owe me 4,000. Hualia flew into a rage and shoved me away violently. I crashed into the headboard, and blood streamed down my cheek. I raised my hand, felt the blood, and smiled. This makes things even easier if I don't make sure that despicable pair, Hualia and Jing Sherlan, end up homeless on the streets. My name isn't Cheng. You just wait, you'll regret crossing me. Hualia stormed out, slamming the door behind him. 7. Whether I'll regret it or not, that's not certain, but Hualia is definitely going to regret it. With my face covered in blood, I cried all the way to the steel mill where Hualia worked. I went straight to the factory director's office. Director, I've been wronged. I take care of my in-laws at home, do the laundry and cooking, but Hualia is having an affair outside, and when he comes home, he even slams my head against the wall. You're the fairest one here. Director, you must stand up for me. The factory director struggled to suppress a smirk as he asked me how I was doing. First, he sent his assistant to fetch me medicine and bandages. Then he helped me put on more clothes. His nephew was competing with Hualia for the position of procurement manager. Just the other day, his nephew was caught dozing off at work and got a black mark. He thought all hope was lost. Who would have thought that just when things seemed darkest, a new path would appear? My visit here was like a dream come true at the perfect moment. 20 minutes later, the assistant informed the factory director that Hualia hadn't come to work today. The director slammed the table in anger. Fine, skipping work without even asking for leave. The assistant gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. He couldn't understand why Hualia would make such a foolish mistake at a time like this. The position of procurement manager is exceptionally lucrative. Once you land that job, money practically rushes into your pockets. I spoke with the factory director for a full hour. Both sides were very satisfied, having gotten what they wanted from each other. I helped his nephew secure a position, and in return, he helped me recover the 4,000 yuan that Hualia owed me. Just as the negotiation concluded and I was about to leave, Hualia arrived. The look he gave me was colder than ever before, even brimming with hatred. Hualia yanked me over roughly, his smile not reaching his eyes. Director, my wife's words shouldn't be taken seriously. We just had a little spat, and she's so angry she's recklessly slinging mud at me. The factory director shook his head at him in disappointment. I'll decide what the facts are for myself. Xiaohua, Comrade Cheng is a university graduate, a valuable asset in building our society. It's truly unacceptable for you to belittle her like this. The factory director had his assistant escort me home, but just as we stepped out of the steel mill, we were stopped by a handsome stranger. You must be Comrade Cheng man. Your mother asked me to wait for you here. I'm completely lost. Who is this guy? The man introduced himself as Li Duchuan. The bodyguard I hired for my mom is actually his brother, but something came up at his brother's place, so he's filling in as a favor. The more I look at him, the more something feels off. Li Duchuan's whole vibe is nothing like a bodyguard's. Even the steel mill director didn't possess such an imposing presence as he did. For safety's sake, my assistant accompanied me back. It wasn't until we got home and my mother confirmed that Li Duchuan was indeed a bodyguard that she felt at ease to leave. Mom pulled me inside. If it weren't for Shali today, Hualia's fist would have hit my face. He even tried to drag me away by force. I took a deep, shuddering breath of relief. Thank goodness I had foreseen Hualia's rotten character long ago. After I married him, my mother poured both money and effort into helping the Hua family when his mother contracted a rare disease. It was my mom who ran around tirelessly, pulling strings to find specialists, and yet, for the sake of Jing Sherlan, he didn't hesitate to lay a hand on my mother under Li Duchuan's protection. My mother and I took our household register and ID cards to sign the paperwork at the demolition office, then submitted the documents at the bank. The demolition compensation was paid out promptly half a month later. The factory director's nephew had already assumed his position as the procurement manager at the steel plant. Not only was Hualia not promoted, but due to conduct issues, He was demoted from workshop foreman to a common laborer, but he never responded even with Li Duchuan's protection. My heart was in my throat every single day. The lack of action meant Hualia was plotting something much bigger for him to hold back this long. The scheme must be absolutely massive. 9. I went downstairs to take out the trash. A car suddenly lost control and came crashing toward me. Someone yanked me back violently, just as I was about to turn and see who it was. A sharp pain shot through the back of my neck. And then I lost consciousness completely. I woke up again, and the stench was overwhelming. I struggled to open my eyes, my hand pressed against the ground, damp and filthy, and I could hear the squeaking of rats. I'm terrified of rats even on a normal day. The sight of one would make me jump, but with my hands and feet tied, I could only watch helplessly as the rat gathered itself and leaped onto my thigh. Scared now? If you are, tell your mother to hand over the demolition compensation, otherwise your tender skin will be rat food. My body trembled with a fine, uncontrollable shiver. I averted my eyes, refusing to look at the rat. I bit my tongue again, struggling to stay calm. So Hualia hired you, didn't he? How much did he pay you to take on such a dangerous job? Nobody hired me. Blame yourself and your mother for being so flashy. You got a huge compensation payout, and instead of keeping a low profile, you've been stirring up trouble everywhere. Hearing that, I was even more convinced Hualia was behind this. Whatever Hualia is paying you, I'll double it. The kidnapper kicked me hard in the stomach. Shut up. I told you it wasn't him. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Is that it? I was in so much pain that cold sweat broke out all over me. I curled up on the ground, unable to speak, as if he'd finally snapped. He grabbed my hair again and slapped me twice across the face. You stupid bitch, can't you understand plain English? Hurry up. Call your mother and tell her to transfer the money now. The kidnapper pressed the cell phone close to my mouth. My face burned with pain, yet my heart grew strangely calm. The kidnapper's urgency meant my mother and the relocation money were both safe. Li Duchuan is a damn good bodyguard, worth every penny. Ring, ring, ring. Hey, Mom, it's me. I'm craving Kirschenkarp for dinner tonight. Can I have the tail? Even just a bite would be heavenly. The kidnapper growled in a low voice. Get to the point. Mom, help me. You need to transfer all the demolition compensation into this bank card. 6226. The kidnapper hung up the phone decisively. Smart move. Don't worry. I'll let you go as soon as the money comes through. 10. Asterisk click asterisk. A faint sound. My eyes snapped open. My senses already on high alert. A single finger appeared in the only patch of light, gesturing to the right. Summoning all my strength, I clumsily tried to shift my body to the right, but the kidnapper was awake too. He grabbed my shoulders, yanked me back, and pressed the gun to my temple. Who's there? Show yourself. Are you here to save Ching Man? I swear I'll blow her brains out. The gun barrel ground painfully against my temple. The skin must have broken. The kidnapper's hand was trembling uncontrollably. I held my breath, not daring to make a sound. I was terrified of startling the jumpy kidnapper. If his finger slipped on the trigger, my life would be over in this damp, dark little room. Ah, that hurts. The kidnapper let out a sharp cry, crouching down to clutch the hand that had been holding the gun. The gun clattered to the ground. I kicked the gun away with my foot. The police burst through the door, and leading the charge was none other than Li Duchuan. So the one who fired the shots just now was him too, a bodyguard hired through an agency for just $40. And not only can he handle a gun, but his aim is this precise. Li Duchuan rushed to my side, deftly untied me, and ripped the tape from my mouth. You've been through so much. His eyes were full of sincerity, and his tone seemed tinged with genuine concern. I shook my groggy head. I must have been knocked silly by those kidnappers. A bodyguard I'm paying to feel sorry for me. Yeah, right, we're just in a professional, employer-employee relationship. Okay, pinned to the ground. The kidnapper shouted in disbelief. How did you find this place? I never gave anything away. Li Duchuan looked at him with pity. Because of that phone call? No, impossible. I was watching Ching Man the whole time. She never mentioned the address. But I did tell Mom that I wanted to eat Kirschenkarp, especially the tail. Mom knows me. I wouldn't talk nonsense at a critical moment like this. After she and Li Duchuan analyzed the situation, they deduced I was in the east side of this abandoned building in the southern part of the city. I once complained to my mom that this unfinished building, stretching from west to east, looked exactly like a Kirschenkarp. It perfectly matched what I said on the phone. Kirschenkarp, fishtail, one bite, unfinished building, east side, first floor. I have to thank the kidnapper for not blocking the window, which allowed me to see the supply and marketing cooperative building directly across in the distance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to figure out where I was. The kidnapper lunged at me, trying to bite me. He missed, and instead got punched by Li Duchuan, knocking out several of his teeth and Making his wound bleed even more profusely, he broke down in tears as if he couldn't accept it. I shouldn't have let you say another word. You're just as cunning and manipulative as my cousin said. Smack. The kidnapper's head snapped to the side from the slap. Have you lost your mind? How dare you kidnap your own cousin's wife and then pin the blame on me? I have no cousin who's scum like you. It was Hulia. He had slipped in at some point and was now glaring at the kidnapper with a look of utter exasperation. He wanted to keep hitting him, but the police stopped him, citing the gunshot wound on the kidnapper. Hulia snorted coldly, since you're already injured, I'll let you off this time, but if you ever try to play gangster and kidnap someone again, I'll break your damn legs. After his harsh words, he knelt down with deep remorse, reaching to hug me. Man, I'm so sorry, I got here too late. Li Duchuan blocked my hand, running late, been waiting outside all this time. Your legs must be numb from squatting, Li Duchuan sneered. Hulia flew into a rage. What nonsense are you spouting? Man is my wife. I'm the one who's most worried about her injury. Who the hell are you? Who gave you permission to touch my wife? Seeing his face while he said those words filled me with such disgust that I actually retched. Hulia's eyes lit up, and his breathing quickened instantly. Man, are you pregnant? With a child in the picture, how to spend the demolition? Compensation would be entirely up to him. Hulia was overjoyed, clenching his fists tightly in excitement. I'm going to be a dad, right? My vomiting got worse, I was even throwing up stomach acid. Hulia grabbed my hand and tried to pull me out. Come on, let's go to the hospital for a checkup. Bang. Hulia was punched, giving him a black eye. She threw up because she's disgusted by you, not because she's pregnant. After all your scheming, you still think she'd be carrying your child. Li Duchuan pointed outside. The sun hasn't even set and you're already dreaming. Such a beautiful dream, aren't you afraid your meager fortune can't bear it? Hulia felt as if he'd plunged into an icy abyss. No, it can't be disgust, it must be morning sickness. Li Duchuan put his arm around me and led me out. Hulia caught up and relentlessly went after Li Duchuan, only to be pinned to the ground by the police. You're suspected of harming a citizen. Come to the station to give your statement. 11. The kidnapping that happened after I received the demolition compensation caused a huge uproar. Everyone in this city who received compensation for demolition or came from a well-off family went to the police station to report it. They demanded severe punishment for this cancer that threatens people's property and personal safety. With so many people reporting it together, I thought Hulia, the mastermind behind it, was surely in for a world of hurt, but to my surprise, he was actually acquitted and set free. How could this happen? Li Duchuan returned after checking the news. The kidnapper died last night. Before he died, he claimed he acted alone in kidnapping you and wasn't instructed by anyone. I was seething with frustration. It must be Hulia pulling the strings behind this. Are we just going to let him get away with it? No, absolutely not. I refuse to accept this. If I let him off the hook, then what was the point of getting kicked and beaten in that abandoned building? And what about my mother at home, who was so frantic her heart condition nearly flared up again? So what if Li Duchuan was forced to reveal his military rank? That's right, Li Duchuan is a soldier, and a regiment commander at that. He was back home on leave to visit family. It just so happened that a friend of his had taken the job to be my bodyguard but had to back out at the last minute, so he begged Li Duchuan to step in. Through a twist of fate, he ended up becoming my bodyguard. He just wanted to have a peaceful holiday, but Hulia actually dared to kidnap me and even got his hands on a gun illegally. Anyway, there's no way we can let Hulia get off so easily without facing justice. Unfortunately, the kidnapper is dead, with no witness to testify. The police had no choice but to release Hulia. 12. Lia, thank goodness you're alright. Xing Shirlan threw her arms around Hulia and sobbed. What would I do if something happened to you? Your cousin is utterly useless. How could he ruin everything with his thick skull, even after you had it all planned out? It's infuriating. Hulia gently stroked Xing Shirlan's smooth, jet-black hair. Don't worry, I have other ways. I won't let you suffer. What ways? Xing Shirlan's eyes were full of anticipation. The old woman and Qing Man don't want to hand over the demolition compensation, right? Well, what if they were both dead? Wouldn't the inheritance be mine then? Hulia's face was wreathed in smiles, yet his tone was dark and menacing. Qing Man had cost him so much, forcing him to drive his own cousin to suicide. At this thought, Hulia closed his eyes in anguish. His cousin's suicide came with a condition. The plan was for him to take the 8 million in demolition compensation, marry into his cousin's family, and wed his cousin's drooling, mentally disabled sister. His cousin's family had many children, 5 boys and 1 girl, and his cousin was the most useless of the lot. After the kidnapping incident, his cousin was too ashamed to go home. Even if he did return, there was only one possible outcome: being berated by his parents, scorned by his brothers, and ultimately driven out of the house, so he chose death. He would use his death to secure benefits for the sister and family who had once shown him warmth. Even if his parents and brothers did not love him, he still loved them. Hulia opened his eyes. How could he possibly marry a fool? Chung Man forced him into this. All he wanted before was the money. She's the one who drove him to take her and her mother's lives. 13. Hulia deliberately sought out a naive-looking nurse, muffled by his mask and scarf. He handed her a bouquet of violets in a low, indistinct voice. Please deliver this to Chung Man in room 302. If she asks who sent it, just say it was a portly man around 60. I'm a friend of his. He pressed 2 yuan into the nurse's hand as payment, then hurried off. The nurse didn't think much of it. It was just delivering a bouquet. No big deal. She cradled the flowers and walked into room 302. Who sent these? The nurse answered truthfully. Could it be the factory director? But then why didn't he come up? Was he just passing by, busy with other things? I muttered to myself, tearing off the plastic wrapping from the flowers. The violets were in full bloom, but their color was unnaturally vivid, giving them an unsettling quality. I leaned in to smell the flowers, and my vision suddenly went black. Sitting on the hospital bed, I was about to lament my poor constitution when I noticed Li Duchuan staring intently at the flowers. He leaned in to take a sniff, then jerked back violently, nearly stumbling. There's something wrong with these flowers. There was no time to explain further. The pregnant woman who had just touched the flowers suddenly fainted, was rushed to the emergency room, and was in critical condition. The elderly woman in the next bed even began having difficulty breathing on the spot and passed away shortly after. Li Duchuan wrapped the flowers in a plastic bag, kicked them into the bathroom, quickly carried me out of the ward, and notified the police to deal with this strange bouquet. Police forensics confirmed that the bouquet of violets concealed the highly toxic flower, deadly nightshade. The sender had also laced it with additional poisons, drastically intensifying the nightshade's lethality. A healthy person would succumb to fatal poisoning after merely inhaling its scent for one night. The new mother and the elderly grandmother, with their weakened immune systems, lost their lives because of this poisonous bouquet. The pregnant woman was so young, with a handsome husband, a lovely child, and a solid family fortune, yet she passed away suddenly in the prime of her life. The elderly woman's family was also in tears. Her daughter had made her chicken soup, but she never got to taste a single sip, nor did she get to see her daughter one last time. My legs gave way, and I only managed to keep from collapsing to the ground by leaning on Li Duchuan. It's Hulia. It must be him. 14. Hulia has been arrested. The evidence is irrefutable this time, and no one is taking the fall for him. The poisonous bouquet he sent had devastating consequences, resulting in the deaths of a pregnant woman and an elderly woman. He was sentenced to death. I had previously filed for divorce from Hulia in court, and around the same time, some good news arrived. When Hulia saw me in the appellate court, he flew into a rage, showing no trace of composure. You really have 9 lives, despite so many dangers. You've managed to escape every single time, but it wasn't because I have 9 lives. It's because I have people who love me by my side. I saved myself. Mom, save me. Li Duchuan saves me too. The trial was over, but his ex-mother-in-law still refused to believe her outstanding son could be sentenced to death. Man, I'm begging you on my knees, please spare Leah. She grabbed Xing Shirlan by the hair and forced her head down. It's all her fault. She's the one who schemed behind his back and led Leah astray. Blame her, not Leah. Xing Shirlan is wicked, but every single one of these crimes was planned by Hulia. He took 2 lives. No, wait, your nephew makes 3. He deserves to rot in the deepest pits of hell for what he's done. Before Hulia's scheduled execution date even arrived, Xing Shirlan had already married, and she married the very local thug and ruffian that Hulia had always looked down on. I made a special trip to inform him of this news, unable to bear the betrayal by his once pure and flower-like first love. Hulia bit off his own tongue and committed suicide in his prison cell that very night. Upon hearing the news of his death, his former mother-in-law went mad. She would wander the streets, calling out for her son to anyone she saw. Xing Shirlan was a delicate flower, requiring a man's devoted care. Hulia, who had loved her since their youth, was willing to protect her, but the local thugs were not. Once they had their fill, the abuse and beatings began without restraint. When we met again later, she asked me through tears, "Are you happy now? Seeing me like this, you must be over the moon, aren't you?" She said with a frenzied look. Ha ha ha, if I'd known it would come to this, I never would have urged Hulia to scheme against you. Tell me, how is your luck always so damn good? With those words, she resolutely leaped into the raging river and vanished from sight in an instant, her fate looking grim. I truly don't like Xing Shirlan, but The one I've always hated is Hualia because Jing Sherlan couldn't scheme against me. It was Hualia, the man who loved her and once shared my bed, who kept plotting against me. I've already called the police, Li Duchuan said as he draped a coat over my shoulders. Let's go. The wind by the river is strong. Let's go home. Li Duchuan's palm was warm as he took my hand and led me away. I know it's time for me to start a new life. Story 2. Reborn on the day I was adopted, my sister knelt before the tycoon, pleading, please adopt my younger sister. I don't mind living in hardship, but I want her to have a better life. In our past life, she pulled every string to get adopted by the billionaire, but soon after, the tycoon went bankrupt while my adoptive parents became the new millionaires. So now she wants a do-over. Little did she know, I was born under a lucky star. Wherever I go, prosperity follows. What she never realized was how long I'd waited for this moment. 1. The instant my twin sister knelt begging the Lin family to adopt me, I knew she'd been reborn too. At age 5, I lost both parents in an accident and we were sent to an orphanage to fend for ourselves. When I was 8, the town's wealthiest man came to adopt a girl. He chose me, but my sister locked me in a closet and took my place in the Lin family later. The Lin family went bankrupt due to mismanagement, drowning in debt. My sister's stolen golden ticket vanished just like that. Ironically, that's when my adoptive parents struck it rich. Consumed by jealousy, she deliberately ran me over in a fit of rage. Waking up again, this was the scene before me. My sister knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded. My little sister just got a bit too playful and locked herself in the cabinet. She doesn't mean to refuse you. Please, give her another chance. Take her in, I beg you, Mrs. Lin was deeply moved by my sister's words. She nodded at me and said, you should thank your sister. If you keep hiding from us like this, we'll have to take her instead. I watched my sister sob uncontrollably, a triumphant smile playing on my lips. She thought she had a do-over in life, but little did she know, I'd been waiting for this day for a very long time. After all, my adoptive parents from my previous life were anything but kind, and a fortune teller had told me right at birth that I was a born koi, meaning prosperity and wealth would follow wherever I went. I followed the Lin family to their luxurious villa. The Lins were wonderful people with kind hearts, renowned philanthropists in Rongqing. They adopted me purely out of compassion to help those in need, not because they couldn't have children of their own. Unlike my previous adoptive parents who only took me in from the orphanage after failing to conceive, then miraculously had a biological son afterward. Beneath their picture-perfect facade, my life became a living hell from that moment on. Now it's my sister's turn to enjoy herself. Is this really my little sister? A handsome boy gazed at me with delight. I knew him, though adopted by different families. Both my sister and I grew up in Rongqing and later attended the same high school. My sister and this boy Lin Zimo were campus celebrities. Everyone knew they were the children of the wealthiest family, and with Zimo being so handsome while utterly doting on my sister, the whole school envied her for having such a perfect big brother. I used to envy her too. All I had was a demonic younger brother who'd gladly see me dead too. Big brother, I cooed sweetly. Lin Zimo took my hand with a radiant smile. From now on, I'll protect you. No one will ever bully you again. My nose stung with unshed tears. This was the familial warmth I'd never experienced before in my past life. My sister cut ties with the Lin family immediately after their bankruptcy, never showing gratitude even when they left her an escape route during their darkest days. Worse still, after squandering everything, she played the victim card everywhere, fabricating stories about the Lin family's mistreatment just to gain online sympathy and clout. I swear, in this lifetime I'll not only reclaim my own destiny, but also protect the Lin family with everything I've got. I quickly adapted to life with the Lin family. Only after living with them did I truly understand how extraordinary they really are. Mr. and Mrs. Lin treated me as their own, showering me with even more care than their biological son. Terrified of making me feel slighted, Lin Zimo wasn't jealous at all. In fact, he doted on me like his own little sister. I still can't fathom how my sister could have been so heartless to the Lin family, who were such good people, letting them be unjustly cyberbullied after they'd already suffered bankruptcy. Even now, recalling it fills me with pain and anger. That year, in our first year of high school, my sister and I met as expected on campus. The difference is, in our past life, we were both in the honors class. But this time my sister ended up in the regular track. She probably figured studying was pointless anyway. Striking it rich through family was the real game changer. Since my twin sister and I look nearly identical, it naturally sparked curiosity among our classmates. I never denied our sibling connection, but when word got back to her, she totally flipped out. She came to my classroom and declared in front of everyone, Lin Qianqian, ever since you were adopted by the wealthiest family, I've never tried to climb the social ladder through you, nor have you ever offered me help. You weren't there when I needed you most, and now I don't want your sudden attempts to get close." Fine, I agreed without hesitation. According to how things unfolded in my past life, the Lin family had already begun their decline during high school. My sister's righteous speech in front of everyone was just a ploy to shame me from seeking her help later. In my previous life after the Lin family went bankrupt, my sister came to me for help. She even proposed swapping identities. She wanted to take my place with my adoptive parents. We were already 22 at that time. That idea was ridiculous to begin with, completely impossible. Besides, my life isn't exactly great, and I don't want her getting mixed up in my mess. My well-intentioned refusal, however, only provoked her furious retaliation. A fierce anger suddenly flared within me, but I bit my tongue and kept it hidden anyway. Her troubles were about to come thick and fast. 3. You'd better keep your word. After getting my affirmative answer, my sister dropped that line and turned to leave. Just as I reached the classroom door, I bumped into Lin Zimo, who had come to find me for lunch. My sister froze for a second when she saw Lin Zimo. The classmates were whispering among themselves, "Wow, Lin Qianqian's brother is so handsome." Lin Zimo escorts Lin Qianqian to class every morning and picks her up after school. Her brother is truly amazing. If I had a brother who's rich, handsome, and this caring, I'd be grinning in my sleep. I could tell my sister's expression had soured considerably. After all, she was the one who used to enjoy all these things. But the very next moment, a wicked smile crept onto her lips. She probably figured the Lin family was going to go bankrupt anyway, so none of this mattered to her. But did she really not have even a shred of doubt? In my previous life, my adoptive parents are now showing signs of striking it rich. Based on my private investigations over the years, my adoptive parents didn't have any more children after adopting my sister, so her life with them wasn't as miserable as mine had been, though it certainly wasn't great. My adoptive father was a terrible drunk. He'd become violent when intoxicated, and my sister inevitably bore the brunt of his beatings in my previous life. My adoptive parents also got lucky with urban redevelopment, hitting the jackpot. They then expanded their small hot pot restaurant, opening more and more branches, eventually turning it into a chain and then a recognized brand. The annual franchise fees from across the country brought in a substantial income, but now, there's no demolition, and the hot pot restaurant hasn't expanded either. Did my sister really think wealth would just fall from the sky? All this indirectly proves my lucky charm status, but looking back, this blessing turned out to be a double-edged sword. Otherwise, my former foster parents wouldn't have had more children, and I wouldn't have suffered even more inhuman abuse because of it. Otherwise, my foster parents wouldn't have become so wealthy. Their money only made them more monstrous. All I hope now is that my sister's suffering isn't much lighter than mine. Naturally, with her personality, she probably didn't fare much better anyway because she's never satisfied. Once she realizes my adoptive parents won't become rich, she'll go insane. But this time, I absolutely won't let her get away with it. I'll make her pay a heavy, painful price. For my sister's declaration about keeping her distance and cutting ties with me quickly spread throughout the school. Her classmates spoke highly of her, praising her integrity for refusing to bow to wealth and status. My sister became even more smug, boasting everywhere that she'd rather be a beggar than ever rely on me. Because of my sister's behavior, I became the target of criticism. People saw me as ungrateful. I didn't explain myself, nor did I need to. My sister's about to get a reality check real soon. Lin Zimo wasn't having any of these school rumors though. He went straight to confront my sister. When I heard classmates say Lin Zimo and my sister were on the rooftop, I rushed up there too. I can't stand seeing Lin Zimo involved with my sister again. Back when his family went bankrupt, he still scraped together money to buy her that designer bag she wanted for her birthday. And what happened? My sister wasn't the least bit grateful. She actually went online and spread vicious rumors. She claimed that after joining the Lin family, Lin Zimo would frequently harass her in private, and that the family turned a blind eye to it. A man as noble, refined, and morally upright as Lin Zimo was literally driven to suicide by cyberbullying. On the rooftop, I heard Lin Zimo sternly warn my sister, Wang Cici, stop spreading nonsense at school. Qianqian isn't that kind of person at all. If you keep spreading rumors, don't blame me for what happens next. Lin Zimo, do you treat everyone this nicely? My sister shot him an intensely sarcastic look. Lin Zimo completely missed the implication behind her words, but I understood perfectly. Lin Zimo was just as good to my sister in our previous life. No matter how indifferent she is to Lin Zimo now, my sister, with her envious nature, wouldn't be able to stand him being good to me either. You know, sometimes good intentions go unrewarded, my sister said maliciously. She was clearly talking about herself. When you've lost everything, Do you really think Lin Qianqian will stick around? She won't spare a single thought for the past. Believe me, my sister's face was a mask of mockery, and it felt like that day was just around the corner and she seemed almost eager for it. Do you really think Qianqian is as ungrateful as you are? Lin Zimo said, his voice cold. I saw a flicker of panic on my sister's face. For a split second, she probably thought Lin Zimo had also been reborn. The truth is, I lived with Lin Zimo for 8 years, and I knew perfectly well that he was just casually throwing a jab at her. I'm just kindly reminding you, but you'll find out soon enough anyway. My sister, of course, wasn't foolish enough to lay all her cards on the table, she sneered. After all, you're about to face some serious bad luck. You're talking about yourself. Lin Zimo was completely unfazed by my sister's threats. Wang Sisi, I'm telling you one last time, if you dare to spread rumors and slander Qianqian again, I'll make sure you regret it immensely. Lin Zimo, actually, I do have a bit of a soft spot for you. My sister didn't take Lin Zimo's words seriously at all, even gloatingly adding, if you start treating me well now, just like you treat Lin Qianqian, I might even consider helping you out when you're in deep trouble. 5. Lin Zimo stared at my sister, dumbfounded, as if looking at an idiot. Lin Zimo, that's enough. My sister was provoked by Lin Zimo's gaze as well. Are you out of your mind? Lin Qianqian is my sister. Of course I'm good to her. You and I have no connection whatsoever. So why should I be good to you? Wang Sisi, no matter how thick-skinned you are, you can't be this shameless. You. My sister's face turned green after Lin Zimo's words. She said viciously, I gave you a chance, but you threw it away. From now on, even if you beg me on your knees, it won't do you any good. Crazy. Lin Zimo was utterly speechless. He probably hadn't seen anyone so shameless in his entire life. I no longer needed to hide. I stepped out. I had been staying out of sight to observe Lin Zimo's attitude towards my sister. Seeing his indifference towards her, I breathed a sigh of relief. I was truly afraid he'd be deceived by my sister again, just like in our previous life. Luckily, while the Lin family is kind, they're not without their limits. My past kindness towards my sister was simply a sense of responsibility. Since we adopted her, we were committed to taking care of her, no matter what happened in the family. But now, for someone who isn't even a blood relative, my sister's actions are nothing but self-humiliation. Bro, I cooed, looping my arm affectionately through his. Qianqian, what brings you here? The way my brother spoke to me was worlds apart from how he treated our sister. I could practically see the green-eyed monster glowing in my sister's stare. Heard you were on the rooftop, so I came looking. Don't be afraid, my brother shielded me. I promised I'd never let anyone hurt you. I gave Lin Zimo a sweet smile. Let's go then. I took Lin Zimo's hand and walked away. My sister's vicious glare burned into our backs. No need to guess she was plotting to make us suffer once she struck it rich. The New Year's Eve gala for our freshman year, Lin Zimo and I performed a piano piece, a 4-hand duet. After the rehearsal, we walked off stage, hand in hand. Lin Zimo is a year older than me, in his 2nd year of high school. His schedule is much tighter than mine, so he left right after the rehearsal. I wasn't in a hurry to leave. I waited for my desk mate, Wu Qian, to finish her rehearsal so we could go together. All the other waiting students gathered around me, full of envy and compliments. Wow, Qianqian, you and your brother are simply a perfect match. The two of you sitting there looked like a painting, absolutely stunning. Your parents are so lucky to have such outstanding children like you two. Qianqian's parents are the Lin family, the wealthiest in the country. The Lins are also renowned philanthropists. I've seen them on TV. The whole family is incredibly good-looking. Qianqian, that dress looks absolutely stunning on you. It must have cost a fortune, right? Suddenly, a classmate brought up my dress. I smiled and replied, yes, my mom had it custom-made for my New Year's performance. Is it embroidered? I nodded. Wow, so jealous. The whole class started cheering. Suddenly a classmate said, why does this dress look familiar to me? Yeah, Wang Sisi has one too, right? Another classmate immediately recalled, she had a ballroom dance performance for New Year's, and I think she wore that exact dress. Look, here comes Wang Sisi. All eyes turned in her direction. I saw Wang Sisi approaching, wearing the exact same dress as me, with a confident, radiant expression. Her face visibly changed the moment she saw the dress I was wearing. Wang Sisi, you're twinning with Lin Qianqian, the classmate pointed out with deliberate emphasis. 6. The other students quickly chimed in. Qianqian said this dress was a custom-made luxury brand from her mom. Is yours the same? Probably not. Who else but Qianqian could afford such an expensive dress anyway? I heard Wang Sisi comes from a modest background. Her parents just run a small hot pot joint, and business isn't great. Then it's definitely a knockoff. Matching outfits aren't the issue. It's who's wearing the fake that's embarrassing. I saw my sister's face contorted with rage. Given my sister's current financial situation, there's no way she could afford the real deal, but in her past life, she grew up in the Lin family who spoiled her rotten. She owned every luxury imaginable, and this dress I'm wearing is indeed the same one she performed in during the New Year's Eve gala in her previous life. It absolutely stole the show that night. My sister naturally wanted to be the center of attention again this time. Little did she expect to run into me, her unexpected roadblock. I won't deny it, I did it on purpose. When Mrs. Lin took me dress shopping days ago, I deliberately picked this gown, knowing full well my sister would want it too, just to get under her skin. This is a grudge from a past life and I remember it perfectly. I never would have thought my sister would actually buy a fake, but it doesn't really matter knowing my sister's temper. There's no way she'd tolerate being mocked like this. Sure enough, I immediately heard my sister retort, "Who says it's fake? Got any proof? This dress costs tens of thousands, from what I know. Since when could you afford that?" Wu Qian sneered, adding, "Thought you were above material things. If money means nothing to you, why bother being so vain? What's wrong with buying a dress I like? Why can Lin Qianqian have it but not me? Because her family is rich. My family is rich too, and all this money came from my parents," my sister declared shamelessly. "How is that possible? Why isn't it possible? Is the Lin family the only wealthy one in the world? Let me tell you, our family is the real dark horse. It won't be long before we become the new richest family in the country," my sister said, beaming with pride. "As for you sycophants, you'll all be proven wrong, and it'll hit you hard." Wang Sisi, who are you calling a simp? Wu Qian was about to get into a fight with my sister. I pulled her back. Getting into a fight at school would go on your record. My sister isn't the main concern here, but Wu Qian is my best friend, and I can't let her suffer because of my sister. Don't stoop to her level. I pulled Wu Qian aside, deliberately speaking loud enough for my sister to hear. "She's just mad because she got caught." My sister glared at me, absolutely furious. She knew perfectly well that while others might not be able to tell if her dress was a fake, it was obvious to me. Having grown up surrounded by luxury goods, the look she gave me could kill 1,000 times over. I knew karma would come for her. 7. On the night of the New Year's performance, my sister showed up backstage wearing the same designer gown as me. Again, the whispers started circulating among the classmates again. How dare she wear the same dress as Qianqian? Not only does she not look as good, but it's a knockoff too. Doesn't she have any shame? She used to be so principled, saying she'd never rely on Qianqian in her life. Now she's trying to compete with her. And with a fake. It's absolutely hilarious. My sister was furious. She threw the dress's tag and receipt into the crowd, yelling, "Open your damn eyes and look closely. This dress is authentic. I bought it from the official store." The students quickly looked at the documents my sister had thrown. Everyone exchanged glances, completely unsure of what to make of it. After all, they had no idea if it was real or fake. "Qianqian, take a look. Is this real?" Wu Qian asked me. "No need to look. It's real." I looked at the dress my sister was wearing. "I just need to see her dress to know this one's authentic. And by the way, the last one was fake." Wang Sisi, where did you get the money? This dress costs over 30,000. Wu Qian looked at her, disbelieving. "Now you know what it's like to be looked down on, don't you?" My sister was practically gloating. "I told you my family is a dark horse. Of course, this money came from my parents, and in the future, they'll only give me more and more. As for Lin Qianqian, the one you're all fawning over now, she'll be a drowned rat soon enough." "What are you talking about?" Wu Qian interjected, defending me. "Believe it or not, I don't care," my sister said haughtily. "Anyway, none of you will ever get on my good side." After saying that, my sister walked away. Everyone else stared at her, utterly bewildered, as if to say, "Is there something seriously wrong with this person?" I think I have an idea why my sister would think that. In her previous life, she was the quintessential nouveau riche. Flashy and ostentatious with her wealth, all the friends she made were essentially bought with money, and she treated them like servants, with not an ounce of respect. So, after she fell on hard times, none of her friends stuck around. Some even kicked her while she was down. She thought the same would happen to me, that when I lost everything, my friends would abandon me or even stab me in the back. My sister has always been convinced she'd live to see me fail. Ever since my sister bought that luxury dress on New Year's Day, she's been like a completely different person. Her spending has skyrocketed, and everything she eats, wears, and uses is now designer. The whole school is buzzing with rumors that Wang Sisi's family really struck it rich overnight. She became wealthy, but clearly, her family's situation is still the same. No demolition, no expansion of their shop. It was only in my previous life that my sister found out at this time that my adoptive parents were wealthy. She figured Since she was about to become rich anyway, what's the big deal about spending a little money now? My sister was the talk of the school for half a month because she suddenly started spending lavishly and was surrounded by a new group of admirers. Her vanity was finally greatly satisfied when we occasionally ran into each other. She'd act like she was too good for me, barely even looking my way during the midday break. Lynn Zimmo and I were called to the teacher's office, where we were asked to represent our school at the Municipal Cultural Center's talent show. Just then, I saw my sister walk into the office. The moment she entered, an unfamiliar middle-aged woman in the office suddenly screamed, "You bitch, how dare you trick my son into taking out online loans for you? Pay it back, give me my money back." My sister's teacher was startled by the middle-aged woman's shrill voice. Naturally, my sister got scared too. All the teachers in the faculty office stared at them in bewilderment. "I'll beat you to death." The woman grabbed a large ruler from the desk and swung it at my sister. "Ah!" My sister screamed in terror. Lynn Zimmo immediately shielded me behind him, protecting me from harm. The teacher grabbed the hysterical middle-aged woman. "If you keep this up, I'm calling security." The woman finally calmed down and confronted my sister. "How dare you make my son take out online loans for you? Give us our money back." "When did I ever ask your son to help me with online loans?" My sister didn't even finish her sentence. With a loud thud, the middle-aged woman slammed a black phone on the desk. "The messages between you and my son are crystal clear. How dare you still try to deny it? What exactly is going on here?" the teacher demanded angrily. The middle-aged woman indignantly recounted what had happened. Turns out my sister had secretly started dating a male college student from another school. Right after they became official, she pressured him into buying her luxury goods. When he said he couldn't afford it, she egged him on to take out online loans. In just 2 weeks, the guy had racked up over 100,000 yuan in online loans for her. Had his parents not accidentally discovered this, who knows how much the compounding interest would have ballooned to. After grilling their son, the parents went straight to the school demanding my sister repay the money. The teacher was shocked looking at my sister's chat history with the male college student, Wang Cici. "How do you know so many online loan platforms?" Bet our teacher had never even heard of half these lenders. Of course my sister knew them all. When the Lin family went bankrupt, she maxed out every credit card and took loans from over 70 different apps just to maintain her lavish lifestyle. Absolutely mind-blowing. My sister is still a minor, so she obviously can't get an online loan. "I don't care, you have to pay me back, or I'm calling the cops," the middle-aged woman threatened impatiently. "Bring your parents here," the teacher insisted. Out of a final sense of duty, my sister was afraid they'd actually call the police. She's still a minor, but if this gets reported, her reputation will be ruined. She immediately made the call, even standing 2 meters away from my sister. I could hear the yelling through the receiver. I could practically feel the terror on the other end of the line. Countless midnight awakenings still send chills down my spine. 9. After hanging up, my sister announced, "My parents will be here soon. We're loaded." "Then why'd you trick my son into co-signing your online loans?" "Shameless." The middle-aged woman lunged to slap my sister, but the teacher intercepted. About half an hour later, my former adoptive parents, Wang Dikun and Jing Suiwen, who are now my sister's adoptive parents, stormed into the office. 8 years had passed since my previous life, and this was the first time I was seeing them again. My body trembled ever so slightly. Lin Zimmo took my hand and asked, "What's wrong, Qian?" I shook my head, staying composed. "Maybe we should leave first," Lin Zimmo whispered. The teacher who called us was suddenly summoned by the principal, asking us to wait in the office for a while. "Let's come back this afternoon," Lin Zimmo said, seemingly noticing my fear and wanting to take me away. No, I refused. I needed to see with my own eyes how my sister was living. The next moment, after Wang Dikun and Jing Suiwen learned my sister owed over 100,000, Wang Dikun slapped her hard across the face. "Have you lost your damn mind? 100 grand in debt, you worthless bitch. After all the years I spent dragging you out of that orphanage and raising you, this is how you repay me." Wang Dikun spewed profanities. "I never even wanted you back then. It was you begging Dad this, Mom that to get adopted, promising you'd behave, and this is your idea of behaving. I'll beat you dead." Before she could finish speaking, another slap was coming her way. The teacher rushed to intervene. My sister touched her badly swollen cheek and sobbed, "Our family's so wealthy, yet you won't let me use any of it. Is it just because I'm not your biological child? What the hell are you talking about? I'm slaving away at this hot pot joint day and night, barely making a few grand a month. Where the hell would I get that kind of money? Stop lying to me. In your past life, you'd already made it big," my sister blurted out in excitement, slipping up, but nobody else paid it any mind. They didn't have a clue what she was talking about. Has our old family house been demolished for redevelopment? My sister didn't beat around the bush, asking directly, demolished? Are you kidding me? Wang Dikun was trembling with rage. I just got a call from the neighborhood committee yesterday saying they're installing an elevator in the old house and doing municipal renovations on the walls. It's never going to be demolished in this lifetime. How is that possible? That area is definitely going to be redeveloped. My sister didn't believe him at all. Are you just hiding it from me because you're afraid I'll spend too much money? It's been a while since I last hit you. Are you itching for a beating? Wang Dikun's patience was wearing thin. If I can use my hands, I'll never use my mouth. So, to everyone's complete surprise, I delivered a hard kick to my sister's leg. My sister was directly kicked to the ground by Wang Dikun. The teachers in the main office were stunned by Wang Dikun's violent actions. A male teacher quickly restrained Wang Dikun. Parent, calm down. No matter what, you can't hit a child like that. 10. Let go of me. Wang Dikun yanked himself free from the male teacher and snarled at my sister. That brat is no blood relation of mine. I've done more than enough by raising her for 16 years. From now on, nothing she does concerns me. As for the hundreds of thousands she owes, don't even think I'm paying it back for her. With that said, Wang Dikun turned and walked away. Jing Suiwen hesitated for a moment, then followed Wang Dikun, clearly abandoning my sister. When that couple adopted a child from the orphanage, their motives were far from pure to begin with. Firstly, they genuinely didn't have children and wanted to avoid gossip from those around them, so they decided to adopt. Secondly, they also wanted a free laborer to help out at their hot pot restaurant, which is why they specifically requested an older child when adopting. They never showed any affection, not to me in their past life, nor to my sister in this one. Now that my sister's caused them so much trouble, they utterly despise her. The middle-aged woman hesitated to stop Wang Dikun and Jing Suiwen as they left, but the memory of his menacing glare made her back down. She screamed at my sister, if even your own parents won't deal with you, I'll have to call the police. Don't call the police. My sister quickly grabbed the middle-aged woman. I'll pay you back. Just give me a week, and I promise I'll return the money. You bitch, are you trying to con me again? My parents are just angry right now. They won't stand by and do nothing. Give me some time to talk to them, and I promise I'll pay back the money. Promise? What are you going to promise with? Your parents run a small hot pot place. How much money could they possibly have? They're the future billionaires, my sister declared with absolute conviction. To this day, she still firmly believes Wang Dikun and Jing Suiwen will strike it rich overnight. I could see the middle-aged woman was completely speechless. The look in her eyes said it all. She thought my sister was out of her mind. Look, even if you call the police right now, I don't have the money, and you won't get anything. You just saw my parents. They don't respond well to threats. How about you give me some time to convince them? If I still can't pay you back in a week, then you can call the police. It won't be too late. The teacher also chimed in, trying to mediate. The middle-aged woman finally relented, but not without a stern warning. If Wang Cici doesn't pay up in a week, I'm suing your school too. The middle-aged woman then left. Lin Zimo also took my hand and led me out of the office. He's always been a very perceptive guy, so he must have noticed that, despite my best efforts to stay calm, I was trembling uncontrollably the whole time. Are you really scared of Wang Cici's parents? Lin Zimo asked me. No. Tell yourself, from now on, you won't be afraid of anything. Lin Zimo sighed. Just trust me. I'll always protect you. Lin Zimo walked me back to the classroom first. After he left, I went back to the classroom office. I saw my sister emerge from inside, her face swollen and looking utterly disheveled. The moment she saw me, her expression instantly changed. 11. Lin Qianqian, you've been enjoying my misery this whole time, haven't you? My sister demanded, her voice full of malice. Yeah, I didn't hide a thing, not just now. I'm still enjoying your misery. I scrutinized her from head to toe, my eyes filled with disdain. Her hair was a mess, clothes wrinkled, and face bruised. It was truly satisfying to see. You, my sister's face was beet red. Do you really think you'll have a good life from now on? Lin Qianqian, I'm telling you, you're about to lose everything. When that happens, even if you beg me on your knees, I won't help you. I just smiled, unfazed and with a hint of mockery. We'll see about that. My sister gritted her teeth and stormed away from me. She must be going back to verify whether Wang Dikun and Jing Suiwen are actually wealthy, and when she finally realizes they're truly penniless, she'll probably wish she were dead. After all, given this rare second chance at life, she thought she'd chosen the best possible path. Turns out she went for wool and came home shorn. I can even picture my sister having a meltdown, and honestly, it would be incredibly satisfying to watch. I thought that would finally make my sister settle down. At least, settle down in my world. She got into a relationship too young and even instigated someone to take out an online loan. Given how serious these offenses are, it's highly likely she'll be expelled from school, and Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuiwen would, of course, be held jointly responsible whether biological or not. Adoption is still a parent-child relationship. My sister isn't an adult yet, so this debt of over 100,000 yuan will inevitably fall on them, but to my complete surprise. A week later, my sister was back at school, looking as radiant as ever. She's still spending lavishly. I unexpectedly ran into her at the school gate after classes. A few classmates were gathered around her. They were really trying to curry favor with her. My sister really thrives on being admired and sought after. She saw me and a sarcastic smile played on her lips. Lin Qianqian, disappointed. My life's only going to get better, and my family's only going to get richer. Where did you get the money? Is it another online loan? I shot back. What nonsense are you spouting? My sister's face instantly changed. The story of her boyfriend getting her to take out online loans for over 100,000 yuan, and his parents chasing her down at school to demand repayment, had long since spread throughout the school. It was a huge humiliation for her. She didn't want anyone to ever bring it up again. I told you. My family is a dark horse. Our hot pot restaurant is about to become the biggest chain in the country, and our family will be the richest. My sister was absolutely convinced. I frowned. So, Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuiwen are expanding their businesses, but where are they getting the money to expand? Without the demolition compensation, they don't have any spare cash at all. The money the hot pot restaurant makes isn't even enough to cover Wang Dikun's drinking sprees. Lin Qianqian, my good days are just beginning. While you're in for a world of trouble, my sister tossed that out. Then strutted off with her friends, full of herself. I quickly had someone investigate Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuiwen again. That's when I found out they had mortgaged their hot pot restaurant, both of their homes, and their car to open 5 more hot pot restaurants. The locations they chose were exactly the same as in my previous life, if I'm not mistaken. Not that it matters anyway. Identical conditions don't guarantee identical outcomes. 12 Monday morning exercises during sophomore year's second semester. During the flag-raising ceremony, Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuiwen suddenly caused a scene at the school. The entire school witnessed my sister being violently dragged away by Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuiwen. The next day, those two came back to the school with my sister, demanding money. The money my sister spent on her so-called friends. Back then I had PE class at that time, so after hearing the rumors, I asked for leave and secretly went to the teacher's office. Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuiwen were relentless in the office. You must pay us back. If you don't, we're not leaving today. Why did we have to pay back all the money when Wang Cici used her classmates' money? But now that these classmates defrauded Wang Cici, they don't have to pay it back. We didn't defraud her. Wang Cici's friend quickly explained. She willingly spent all this money on us. She said your family was rich, that you'd become the wealthiest people in the future, with endless money to spend. Tell me the truth. Did they force you to spend money on them? Wang Dikun gave my sister a vicious pinch. My sister cried out in pain. They absolutely pressured me into giving them money. That's not true. You offered it yourself. We didn't want your money, but you insisted, saying it was pocket change to you. Several classmates fired back. Another student even showed their text messages to the teacher as proof. The teacher was at a loss for words after seeing it. She said, Mr. Wang, see for yourself. It was clearly Wang Cici who insisted on spending money to show off in front of her classmates. I don't care. Wang Dikun smashed his phone on the ground. That brat spent over 80,000 yuan of mine this semester. If these kids don't pay back at least 50,000, I'm not going anywhere. None of you will have class today. You can't just act like a tyrant. The teacher snapped angrily. How do you expect Cici to face her classmates after this? Have some consideration for her dignity. Dignity, what's that worth? That Jinx deserves to die. Who cares about her face? Wang Dikun's rage escalated. I was a damn fool to believe her nonsense. All that crap about being reborn and knowing the future. Swore I'd become the richest man if I expanded my business. She even picked storefronts for me. Now I've mortgaged everything, cars, house, shops, and I'm drowning in debt I'll never repay. The teacher was stunned by what Wang Dikun said. I felt a sense of relief. It was exactly as I had expected. It must have been my sister who incited Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuiwen, telling them they'd strike it rich this way. I never thought my sister would screw me over this badly, remembering the wealth and glory these two enjoyed in their past lives. See, without me, they're nothing. My sister kept whimpering, muttering, it's true, our family is going to get rich, very soon. Shut your damn mouth. If I ever listen to another word you say, I'm a pig. Wang Dikun was so furious he looked like he wanted to Kill my sister again. My sister was crying her eyes out in fear. The teacher kept trying to break up the fight. This incident caused a huge stir at school. There was nothing for it. The classmate who'd borrowed money from my sister eventually returned it, thanks to the relentless badgering from Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuewen. As a result, my sister was officially dismissed from the school. During that period, she became the laughingstock of the entire school. 13 later, when my sister came to school to pack her things and leave, she was mercilessly ridiculed by her classmates. "Oh, isn't that Miss Wang, the one who's supposed to become the richest person? Why does she look like she just crawled out of a dumpster, broke but still trying to keep up appearances, and constantly competing with Lin Qianqian? How dare she? What, has Miss Wang been exiled or something?" My sister left school, completely devastated. Before I could even process what was happening, I got jumped again in some alleyway. My sister was beaten to tears, begging them to stop, but they showed no mercy, hitting and yelling at her. "Why pretend to be rich when you're broke? I won't be satisfied until I've beaten you to a pulp. This is all your fault. My parents beat me up because of you, you jinx. I'm going to kill you, you bitch." A long time only after they had vented their anger did those people run off, if I'm not mistaken. These all seem to be the people my sister forced to pay back money, her so-called friends. I walked up to my sister. My sister didn't see my face, she just felt someone approach and started trembling. "Please don't hit me. I'll never do it again." "Boo-hoo-hoo. I'm not going to hit you. Hitting you would only dirty my hands." My sister snapped her head up, looking at me. "How could it be you?" When facing me, her expression instantly turned sinister. "Just here to see how pathetic you become, Lin Qianqian, you bitch. Get out. Get out of my sight right now." My sister shrieked like a madwoman. She probably couldn't stand me seeing her in such a pathetic state. I remained unfazed. To me, she was nothing but a joke. "Lin Qianqian, don't get cocky." My sister struggled to her feet. "You'll end up worse off than me." "Oh really?" I sneered. "You keep saying I'm doomed, that disaster's coming for me. Where's the proof?" My sister froze momentarily, suddenly struck by a thought. She demanded hysterically, "Lin Qianqian, did you also get reborn? Is that why you've been sabotaging my life?" "I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not as dumb as her, blabbing about reincarnation everywhere." "Lin Qianqian, I'll kill you, I'll kill you." I completely ignored her. My sister is covered in injuries. She can barely walk 2 steps now. I walked past her, seeing her in such a pathetic state with my own eyes, and then remembering how terribly Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuewen suffered because of her, filled me with satisfaction. But I didn't expect that. A week later, I was shocked to see my sister at the Lin family's villa. 14. My sister sat on the sofa, looking so delicate and vulnerable, as if she was afraid of breaking it. Mr. and Mrs. Lin were very polite to her. Lin Zimo and I came home from school, both feeling a bit confused. "Qianqian, your sister is here to see you." Mrs. Lin greeted me warmly. Wang Cici saw me and immediately became very affectionate. "Qianqian, what are you doing here?" I frowned. "I missed you," my sister said very naturally. "Didn't you miss me? We're sisters, after all." "That's not what you said at school. You told me not to get chummy with you." "When did I ever say that?" my sister denied. "You must have misheard." I glared at her coldly. My sister remained unruffled and even took the initiative to chat with Mrs. Lin, showering her with flattery. Unaware of my sister's recent circumstances, Mrs. Lin still held her initial favorable impression and treated her with warmth. After dinner at the Lins, my sister, looking pitiful, asked, "Uncle and Auntie, can I stay here tonight? I'd love to catch up with my sister." "Of course you can." Mrs. Lin readily agreed. Lin Zimming looked like he was about to say something, but I held him back and, smiling, said to Mrs. Lin, "Thank you, Mom." Lin Zimming seemed a bit confused as to why I'd let my sister stay. He's well aware of the relationship between my sister and me, but he doesn't know what my sister is really after. I need to make my sister disappear from my life completely, otherwise, she'll always be a ticking time bomb. Lin Zimo pulled me aside, looking utterly bewildered. "How could you let Wang Cici share a room with you? That woman has nothing but ill intentions." "No, I'm going to tell Mom and Dad what kind of person Wang Cici really is." "Hold on," I told Lin Zimo. "Instead of us telling Mom and Dad what kind of person Wang Cici is, it's better to let them see it for themselves. You saw how good she is at faking it. And Mom and Dad already have such a good impression of her. I don't want them to think we're trying to stir up trouble." Lin Zimu immediately understood what I meant. He asked, "So, what should we do?" "Let's wait and see how things unfold." Back in my room, my sister had, of course, already changed into my pajamas and was sprawled out on my soft princess bed. The contentment on her face was truly undisguised. Seeing me enter, she adopted an exceptionally sweet tone. "Qianqian, there were some misunderstandings between us before, and I admit I was wrong. Just remember how hard I fought to get you into the Lin family, to live such a good life, and please don't hold a grudge against me. So, is my sister just pretending to make peace? You've seen my situation. My adoptive parents are going to beat me to death. You're the only family I have left in this world. I can only rely on you. Didn't you say you wouldn't rely on me even if you were a beggar? I scoffed. I spoke out of turn back then. Don't hold it against me. Could you find it in your heart to forgive your big sister this once? My sister cooed at me. How utterly revolting. My forgiveness means nothing. This is the Lin household, and I'm just an adopted child. There's nothing I can do to help you. Oh, but you can. My sister instantly countered. I looked at her. In short, as long as you don't kick me out, I'll find a way to stay, my sister declared confidently. 15. I had no idea what scheme my sister was cooking up this time, but she was playing with fire. I'll just wait for her to self-destruct. My sister ended up staying at the Lin family's for half a month. In her previous life, my sister was already part of the Lin family, so she knew exactly what they liked. That's why her 2-week stay delighted Mr. and Mrs. Lin. The only one she didn't manage to win over was Lin Zimo. No matter how she tried to please him, Lin Zimo simply ignored her. During dinner, Lin Zimo deliberately remarked, Wang Cici, you've been staying at our place for half a month now. Aren't you going home? Don't your parents miss you? Mrs. Lin seemed to realize it too. Cici, you've been here for half a month already. Time flies. You really should go back. Your parents must be worried having you stay at someone else's home this long. My sister clearly didn't want to leave. With the Lin family putting it that way, she couldn't refuse. Alright, you're welcome to visit Chan Chan often. As her biological sister, you're family to us. Family should keep in touch, Mrs. Lin said warmly. My sister nodded with a smile, but she must have been seething inside. She didn't want to be just a relative of the Lin family. She wanted to stay with them forever. Night fell. Even after I finished my homework, my sister still hadn't returned to our room. It wasn't until I was already in bed that my sister came back, visibly unsettled. In the dead of night, I hazily sensed my sister leaving the room again. Come morning, a piercing scream suddenly echoed through the house. I scrambled out of bed in a hurry. The moment I opened my door, I saw Mr. and Mrs. Lin emerging from their room, both bleary-eyed with sleep. The sound was coming from Lin Zimo's room. Mr. Lin pushed open Zimo's door without hesitation. The moment the door opened, my sister's scream intensified. She was lying on Zimo's bed, clutching the blanket tightly. Lin Zimo tumbled off the bed at that moment, completely naked. I immediately turned away to avoid looking. Both Mr. and Mrs. Lin also turned their backs. What's going on here? Mr. Lin demanded sternly, still facing away from them. Last night, Lin, my sister sobbed pitifully, her voice choked with tears. That's not true. I didn't even know when you crawled into my bed, Lin Zimo retorted defensively. Enough, Mr. Lin snapped. Get dressed first, then we'll talk downstairs. The morning air hung thick with tension. My sister's eyes welled up with tears. She was so incredibly wronged. Lin Zimo, you must take responsibility for Wang Cici. Father Lin spoke, not asking for reasons or outcomes, but directly issuing a command. Lin Zimo wanted to say something. Mother Lin stopped him. No matter what, in situations like this, it's always the girl who gets the short end of the stick. You should take responsibility. Lin Zimo gritted his teeth, saying nothing. Cici, you're both still underage, so marriage is out of the question for now, but we can get engaged first. Lin's mother said, don't worry, our family will take good care of you. Thank you, Auntie. My sister looked incredibly touched, yet a cunning slyness lurked in her eyes. She knew perfectly well how good the Lin family was, and how upright their values were. As long as something happened between her and Lin Zimu, the Lin family would definitely side with her, so she thought her scheme had succeeded. 16. See, Lin Qianqian, I told you I could stay with the Lin family. As soon as we got back to the room, my sister's attitude towards me changed dramatically. All that flattery and fawning from the past fortnight vanished in an instant. Now they're just gloating triumphantly. Once I marry Lin Zimo, the Lin family fortune will be mine, my sister said with growing excitement. I was completely baffled. What kind of twisted logic is she using? My sister seemed to read my mind and declared matter-of-factly, do you actually think you have any claim to the Lin family fortune? Know your place, you're just an adopted daughter. Lin Zimo is the blood heir, and as the son, he's the rightful successor, and since I'm his wife, what's his is naturally mine. I couldn't help but laugh. My sister's warped reasoning genuinely cracked me up. She's barely scratched the surface, yet she genuinely believes she's secured her spot as the young mistress of the Lin family. Even if that were the case, there's no way Mr. and Mrs. Lin would completely cut me off, given how much they dote on me. Well, congratulations then, I couldn't care less anyway, she's just dreaming. But since Lynn's parents had promised to take responsibility for my sister, they really started preparing for the engagement. They were just waiting for the summer vacation after Lynn Zimming finished his second year of high school to hold it. My sister was also incredibly excited. However, a week before the summer break, the Lynn group was suddenly exposed to a bankruptcy crisis. Those days were a nightmare for Mr. and Mrs. Lynn. My sister secretly overheard several of my father's calls to the bank about securing a loan. I noticed her expression change dramatically. So, that evening, when the family gathered again to finalize the engagement party details, my sister couldn't help but ask, "I heard something happened with the company these past few days." "It's a small matter," Father Lynn said. "Difficulties are only temporary and will soon pass. However, you might have to bear with some inconvenience for now. We originally planned a lavish engagement party, but now we'll have to keep it simple. After you get married, I promise we'll make up for it with a grand wedding." I noticed my sister's smile falter slightly. "You wouldn't mind, would you?" Mother Lynn asked my sister. My sister hadn't said a word yet. I interjected, "How can that be? My sister told me she loves him dearly, and she'd stick by him no matter what, even if he lost everything." My sister was speechless, caught off guard by my words. She just managed a shaky smile and nodded. That evening, my sister could only watch as Mr. and Mrs. Lynn continued to scale down the engagement banquet. I saw her face grow paler and paler. By the next day, my sister couldn't hold back anymore. After all, the Lynn family did go bankrupt in her previous life. Even though many things have unfolded differently this time around, she clearly isn't willing to take any chances. No matter how the Lynn family tried to ensure her safe exit, she still faced retaliation because of them after their bankruptcy in her previous life. With her personality, she'd never wade into troubled waters again. She said, "Uncle, Auntie, since the family's in such financial difficulty now, perhaps we should call off the engagement." "Absolutely not. We keep our promises. Don't worry, even if the Lynn family goes bankrupt, we'll stand by you to the end," Mrs. Lynn vowed. The word bankruptcy completely broke my sister's composure. Her voice rose a little. "Your family is bankrupt. How can you take responsibility for me? Do you want me to be burdened with debt alongside you? You're too selfish." Mr. and Mrs. Lynn looked at Wang Cici in disbelief. This was completely different from the well-behaved image she usually presented. "I'm not getting engaged." My sister didn't want to beat around the bush anymore. She just laid it all out. "But you and Zimming already." "Already what?" My sister retorted fiercely. "I can't sacrifice my happiness for the rest of my life, can I? I'm not that stupid. I'm not going to waste any more time talking to you. I absolutely won't go through with this engagement, but I also can't let Lynn Zimming get away with treating me like this. Give me 2 million, and I'll pretend none of this ever happened." 17. The hall was silent. Lynn Zimming's parents stared at her, dumbfounded, as if I'd never truly seen her for who she was. "Why are you all looking at me like that? How foolish of me to believe fate could be changed." My sister snapped angrily. Exactly, she thought this lifetime would be different. Since Wang Dikun hadn't struck it rich, the Lin family wouldn't go bankrupt. That's why she wanted back into the Lin household, resorting to such despicable means. Who would have thought? Fate is reincarnating again. She was absolutely furious. She no longer bothered to hide her intentions, threatening, "If you don't give me 2 million, I'll report Lin Zimmo." "I'm still underage, but Lin Zimmo is old enough to be held criminally responsible. Do you have proof?" Lin Zimmo challenged her. "Of course I do. I approached you with an agenda from the very beginning. Did you really think I'd come unprepared?" My sister laid her cards on the table. After all, when the Lin family went bankrupt in her past life, she'd torn off the mask just like this. She pulled out her phone, revealing compromising photos of her and Lin Zimmo. Lin Zimmo's face went completely dark. "Once I hand these over to the police, you're finished." "Lin Zimmo, that's not necessarily true," I said. My sister glared at me. "I have the complete video of how you framed my brother that night and how you ended up in his bed. I'm sure the police will be able to tell right from wrong." With that, I cast the video directly to the TV. Damn right, from the very beginning, I was on guard against my sister. That's why I installed hidden cameras in every corner of the room, including my brother's bedroom. My sister, knowing the Lin family's original surveillance setup, cleverly avoided the monitored areas and executed her sinister plan in the blind spots. Little did she know, her every move was being watched by us the entire time. The video showed my sister secretly drugging Lin Zimmo. Once he was fast asleep, she stealthily climbed into his bed, stripped them both naked, and then began taking countless photos. Finally, she deliberately created a panic in the morning. My sister trembled with rage as she watched the video footage. "Got anything else to say? We could even sue you for fraud," I warned my sister. "Lin Qianqian, do you really think there'll be happy ending for you?" Mark my words, when the Lin family goes bankrupt, you'll suffer right along with them. Serves you right for being shackled to those people your whole life. My sister spat before turning to leave. Who said anything about our family going bankrupt? I sneered. Are you really that clueless? Your adoptive father's been scrambling for bank loans all week. Just like last time, the Lin group's already an empty shell. They'll collapse within a year at most. That was just for show, Lin Zimmo said. My sister looked at Lin Zimmo, thinking she'd misheard. Lin Group stock hit its daily limit today, Lin Zimmo said, pulling out his phone to show Wang Cici the market data. How is that possible? At this point in my last life, the Lin family was on the verge of bankruptcy. This data must be photoshopped. Wang Dikun got super rich around this time in his last life. I retorted. How did you know? My sister stared at me. Don't you think you've been reborn too? I didn't deny it. What have you done? What have you done to my destiny? My sister went ballistic, charging at me, ready to strike. But Lin Zimmo grabbed her, holding her in an unbreakable grip, leaving her utterly immobile. Sis, don't forget, you were the one who made the choices in both this life and the last. My sister froze, completely stunned. She couldn't process it for a long time, probably doesn't even realize where they went wrong. Guess even the heavens can't stand a wicked person like you, so divine justice must be served. No, that's not it, my sister shrieked, acting like a complete lunatic. She simply couldn't accept being defeated by me in both lifetimes. She probably still can't comprehend why this happened after 2 lifetimes. Lin Zimmo had his servants throw my sister out, threatening to beat her to death if she dared approach me again. Naturally, people like my sister never learn their lesson. She's miserable, so she's determined to make everyone else miserable too, but that's a story for another time. After she was thrown out of the Lin family villa, Mrs. Lin couldn't help but sigh. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I really wouldn't believe Wang Cici is this kind of person. After spending all this time with her, even if there was nothing between her and Zimmo, I treated her like a daughter for Qianqian's sake. It's a good thing you two, Qianqian and Zimmo, talked me out of it and suggested we verify her character. Otherwise, I would have truly been deceived by her. Speaking of which, Qianqian, did you really get reborn, Mrs. Lin asked me, incredulously. I smiled. Mom, none of that really matters. What matters is that we're a family now. A family that loves each other wholeheartedly, with no barriers between us. Lin Mu looked relieved and nodded. She hugged me. I can't even imagine how much I'd regret it if I had adopted your sister instead of you back then. My eyes welled up at that moment. I also felt incredibly fortunate that fate had given me a chance to restart my life. It led me back to you all. From now on, we'll be inseparable, always. Postscript. Over the next 6 months, my sister came to me many times. She begged me for money and pleaded with me to help her pay off her debts. Otherwise, she'd be sold off to an old man by Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuewen. That's when I found out that after my sister had thoroughly fleeced them, Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuewen, in an attempt to recoup their losses, were planning to marry her off to any old man who would pay them a 300,000 yuan bride price to avoid being married off to an old man. My sister came to the Lin family and then negotiated terms with Wang Dikun. My sister has completely alienated herself from our Lin family, so Wang Dikun naturally won't trust her anymore, and there's no way I'm going to go soft on her. This is all her own doing. Besides, after how cruel she was to me in my past life, there's no way I'm going to repay her cruelty with kindness. She nodded and said to me, aren't you going to thank your sister? If you keep hiding from us like this, we'll just take her with us. So, that day, she showed up at the school gate with a knife, waiting for me. I knew she wouldn't let me off the hook, so I'd already prepared for it. The moment she pulled out the knife, the bodyguards Lin Zimmo had assigned to me quickly restrained her, then they took her to the police station. We've got both eyewitness testimony and physical evidence. My sister, though underage, was already 16 when she committed attempted murder and got sentenced to 5 years in prison. What'll become of her after those 5 years? That's beyond my concern. Knowing Wang Dikun and Jing Tsuewen's cruelty, I'm certain my sister won't have an easy life. As for me, I've been given a second chance at life, and I'm going to cherish every moment of it. I'll use my good fortune to protect everyone I love and who loves me. May our land be unharmed, and our nation prosperous and peaceful forever. The end. Story 2. In high school, I deliberately scored poorly on tests and paid the poor school heartthrob to tutor me, just to help him out financially, but he resented me for taking time away from his childhood sweetheart. When he learned I outscored him by 100 points on the college entrance exam, he cursed me, calling me a hypocritical, scheming rich girl who'd never find true love. Later, he got me killed. He even came to my grave to warn me, if there's a next life, spare him the fake pity and stop forcing affections that were never meant to be. As he wished, given another chance, I never asked him to. Tutor me again. He had all the time in the world to wash dishes and wait tables with his childhood sweetheart at every diner in town. One Ian Jemming, the school heartthrob, lost his father in a fire 3 years ago while he was on duty. Our family's chain restaurant was located in the commercial district where his father fought the blaze. In gratitude for his father's sacrifice, our family donated 1 million yuan to his family afterward. His mother was hospitalized due to grief-induced illness. By the time Ian Jemming and I got into the same public high school, his family had nearly exhausted all the firefighters' death benefits and donations left by his father. My mother found out we were in the same honors class when she tried to donate another million to his family. Ian Jemming coldly refused. Stop humiliating me. Later, I came up with a plan. I deliberately scored at the bottom of the placement test, then paid premium rates for Ian Jemming to tutor me. This way, I could protect his pride while naturally freeing him from restaurant shifts to focus on his mother and studies. But in our past life, he ended up despising me for it. First, he resented me for constantly asking him to tutor me, which took away time he could have spent with his childhood sweetheart Lu Junjin. This led to her dating the school bully from a neighboring school. Second, he felt humiliated that I scored 100 points higher than him on the college entrance exam. He believed a mediocre student like me had no right to outperform him, let alone use it as an excuse to pursue him. He swore he'd never like me, cursing this scheming rich girl to never find true love. Later, he buckled down and was admitted to a prestigious graduate school that outranked his undergraduate institution. During his 3rd year of grad school, he secured angel investment to launch a medical aesthetics startup. His natural good looks as the campus heartthrob lent credibility to his cosmetic business ventures. Before long, he'd made his first 10 million yuan when he finally mustered the courage to reconnect with long-lost Lu Junjin. He discovered she was already pregnant with twins for a wealthy businessman 10 years her senior. Compared to the tycoon's family fortune, Ian Jemming's 10 million was just a drop in the bucket. So Ian Jemming took out all his hatred on me. He unusually invited me to his clinic for cosmetic procedures, then stealthily injected venom throughout my body, only to dismiss my death as a trivial medical accident. My parents originally wanted to seek justice for me. Upon learning the accident occurred at Ian Jemming's company, out of respect for his late father, a firefighting hero, they took the hero's descendant at his word. They even held my funeral with Ian Jemming's help. After the funeral, Ian Jemming swindled fresh investment money from my parents, then came gloating about it at my graveside. Then he warned me with pure venom, if there's a next life, don't you dare play the saint and pretend to pity him. He never needed my family's charity or handouts, and he certainly wouldn't stoop to tutoring spoiled rich girls like me for money. My own arrogance killed me, and he has no regrets. Perhaps the heavens took pity on my unjust and tragic death, granting me this chance to start over. This time, I won't dim my light or endure a single second of suffering for that scumbag, and I'll make damn sure that bastard never gets another penny from my family. I won't let him hurt me ever again. Too. Clutching my rock-bottom final exam report card, I practically sprinted home. Seeing my parents looking decades younger gave me an eerie sense of time travel. Mom took my report card, popped an orange slice into my mouth, and said pointedly, "Are you just home? Get some vitamin C to boost immunity, then take your fish oil. Don't forget you were the city's top middle school graduate. No need to overdo this underachiever act." With tears in my eyes and an orange slice in my mouth, I replied, "Starting today, there's no need to have Ian Jemming tutor me at home anymore, and I won't deliberately rank last in the next exam either. Also, if he ever tries to work at any of our family restaurants again, please tell the managers to turn him down." My mother looked stunned and exchanged glances with my father. In my past life, though my parents had agreed to let me flunk exams to help Ian Jemming, it cost them their dignity for quite some time. The daughter of our city's top middle school exam scorer became the perpetual underachiever in her elite public high school class. 2 whole years, from sophomore to junior year, people accused me of cheating on the entrance exams, saying my true colors showed after entering public school. A family obsessed with business schemes could never focus on academics. Hiring the school's top-ranked heartthrob as a tutor, just another calculated move, trading resources to upgrade their genetic pool. These days it's either beauties paired with trolls or average girls forcing chemistry with hunks, an absolute eyesore and health hazard for everyone. Whispers like these kept drifting to our family's ears, but from the start, we'd resolved to help Ian Jemming, the firefighter hero's descendant. My parents had no choice but to endure these unfair criticisms. What's more, I got completely invested and even developed a bit of a crush on Ian Jemming. I always had his back, no matter what. Let's be honest, it's perfectly normal for a teenage girl like me to appreciate a handsome face, right? Add to that my admiration for Ian Jiaming is a firefighter's descendant and all those CEO romance novels I'd read, so when I kept interacting with his aloof self daily, I just fell for him inexplicably. That's why my mom kept getting anxious and would frequently drop hints to snap me out of it, but I promised her I wouldn't confess my feelings until after the college entrance exams. I blinked back the welling tears and declared firmly, "I'm dead serious. I'm going to study alone in the study." The doorbell rang just as I finished speaking. Housekeeper Aunt Jo ushered in the aloof and arrogant Ian Jiaming. Looking at 18-year-old Ian Jiaming's face now just makes me sick, but I held it back, curling my lips into a sneer. "Must be such a chore tutoring a spoiled rich girl like me. You can leave now, but you'll still get paid for today. Feel free to reject the handout if it offends your pride. Don't bother coming in starting tomorrow. My patience may be vast, but I won't keep kissing up to someone who treats me like dirt." 3. The searing pain of venom coursing through my veins haunted my nightmares at midnight. I woke up screaming, drenched in cold sweat. Hearing my voice, Mom rushed to my room to comfort me. "Yujia, what's wrong?" Mom wiped the sweat from my forehead and said, "Don't be scared. It was just a dream. Your parents will always protect you. Just a dream." Looking up at my mother's worried face, I hugged her tightly and pleaded, "Mom, can you make sure none of our partner stores or restaurants hire Ian Jiaming for part-time work? Don't give him any chance to earn money. Not even dishwashing or waiting tables." My mom looked puzzled. "Yujia, how could your attitude toward Ian Jiaming change so drastically in just one day?" "Yesterday evening, I noticed he left our house with a strange expression. Did something happen between you two?" Telling Mom about my rebirth would have shocked her, so I simply explained how Ian Jiaming had repeatedly shown disdain for our family's money. When Mom initially offered his family a 1 million yuan donation, he coldly refused. That much was true. Mom nodded in understanding and accepted my explanation, but she added that if none of our Wen family's chain restaurants or partners hired Ian Jiaming, he'd likely end up working for our competitors, that notorious Yao's restaurant, infamous for mistreating waitstaff yet still thriving despite the flood of bad reviews. I nodded. This was exactly my intention. After my rebirth, I set my revenge plan in motion to clear my blocked milk ducts. First, I'll make Ian Jiaming understand his true worth. Then, they tortured him beyond endurance. In the end, they left his body in pieces, for just as expected a week later, Ian Jiaming took a part-time job at Yao's restaurant. At first, he didn't mind being turned down by his previous workplace since Lu Junjun wasn't working there either. Ian Jiaming followed Lu Junjun to work at Yao's restaurant. Even though the hourly wage was 10 yuan less than other places, he didn't mind. Being with Lu Junjun was all that mattered. Every afternoon after school, Ian Jiaming would meet her at the crosswalk opposite campus, hand in hand, sharing an ear of corn. They'd take the bus together to wash dishes and wait tables. His mother's hospital bills were initially covered by my family, paying him 5 times the standard tutoring rate, but hospitalization burns through money. The funds were gone in under a month. Even working himself to the bone for 90 hours a month at 15.3 yuan per hour, Ian Jiaming only earned 1,377 yuan, paid mid-month no less. That couldn't even cover a single day of his mother's hospital expenses. He begged the hospital for a 1-week extension, promising to find a way to cover the payment. His solution was to work longer shifts as a waiter, either taking more night shifts or skipping classes for part-time work. His attentive homeroom teacher soon noticed his unusual behavior and privately called him into the office to see if she could help resolve his situation. Facing his teacher, he had no choice but to confess his family's dire financial straits and his mother's urgent need for hospitalization funds. The homeroom teacher thought he had it tough, and considering he was a top 10 student in the grade, didn't want to let such promising talent go to waste, so she personally donated 1,000 yuan first, then promised to organize class-wide or even grade-wide donations for Ian Jiaming this time. Though Ian Jiaming showed a hint of reluctance, he ultimately nodded in the face of reality. During self-study period, when the donation QR code made its way from the front row to mine and Li Shui's desk, my deskmate Li Shui generously scanned the QR code to transfer 200 yuan, then sighed, "Donating 200 yuan to Ian Jiaming is already my limit. That's my entire month's breakfast budget plus my life-saving boba money. Yujia, if you donate more later, don't you dare laugh at me, okay?" Without pausing my test or looking up, I replied, "Don't worry, I'm not donating." Li Shui gasped, "What, didn't you hire Ian Jiaming for private tutoring at premium rates before? Technically he's kinda like your mentor. Plus, your family's quite well off and charitable, you know, like in Parasite where the rich have the luxury to be generous with their kindness." "Oops, my bad, that came out wrong. Sorry for the guilt trip, just noticed you've been acting off lately and couldn't resist prying." I set down my pen and passed the QR code to the person behind me. Then I replied to Li Shui, "But there's such Thing is being too kind, you'll just become a resented do-gooder. Ever heard of beneficiary's malice? If I donated to Ian Jiaming, he'd probably turn around and bite the hand that feeds him. Li Shui burst into giggles. I leaned closer to whisper in Li Shui's ear. Gotta save my own skin first. Seriously. 2 years ago when my mom tried to donate $1 million directly to Ian Jiaming's family, he turned it down too. Thought we were insulting his dignity. It was presumptuous of me to impose my help. Without considering whether he actually needed it, this young lady has decided to tighten the purse strings and quit playing Mother Teresa. With that, I buried myself in the test papers again. Li Shui had no choice but to sip her boba tea while propping her chin in thought for a long while. During the second homeroom period, the head teacher announced the donation total for Ian Jiaming, yen 10 for 98, clearing his throat. He gave me a pointed look and said sarcastically, most classmates have contributed to help Ian Jiaming through his difficulties. You're all kind-hearted kids, though some who should have donated didn't. Meanwhile, an icy glare shot toward me from the front row seat by the left wall. Oh, look, it's our class charity case, Ian Jiaming 5. I stared straight at Ian Jiaming, waiting for him to spout nonsense, but he just turned away silently. I'll let it go, ignoring those passive-aggressive cowards who wouldn't speak directly. I packed my bag and left right as the dismissal bell rang. After getting home, I had a well-balanced dinner, did some reading, then showered and turned in for the night. I need to recharge both physically and mentally, getting proper rest and sleep for tomorrow's final exam. Only with proper rest can I think clearly and dominate the exam hall once again. Long time no see, my top-performing self. A week later, the final exam results were out. I skyrocketed from the bottom ranks to top 30 in grade and top 5 in class. Ian Jiaming, who had consistently ranked in the top 10 for 2 years, plummeted to 100th place in the grade. The whole class was buzzing with gossip. No way, Wen Yujia, who's always been at the bottom, actually made it to the top 30. Is this a dream? That's insane. She improved by a whopping 321 points. She must have cheated, right? Wasn't Wen Yujia the city's top scorer in the middle school entrance exam? Maybe she's just readjusted to high school exams now. Rumors have been swirling that she bought her way to the top of the city's middle school exams. Money talks. After all, she used to have Ian Jiaming tutor her regularly. Wait, why did Yen's grades drop so drastically? Could he and Wen Yujia have swapped test papers? His family's been desperate for cash lately. I strongly demand a review of Wen Yujia's final exam results, or have her retake the test alone to prove herself. My deskmate Li Shui defended me. Yujia would never cheat. For the past 2 months, I've seen her grind through at least 2 practice tests daily. Our homeroom teacher, already displeased that I hadn't donated to Ian Jiaming's fundraiser, summoned me to the office after hearing these speculations and confronted me about possible cheating. I said no. He retorted, how can you prove you didn't cheat? Why did you score so much higher than Ian Jiaming, who's been tutoring you all along? Did you refuse to donate just to secretly pay him for answers and grades? Rich girls like you always have to show off. I burst out laughing. Why should I prove myself? The burden of proof lies with the accuser. As an educator with years of experience, I always believed you were a responsible teacher. Now I see your responsibility is selective, playing favorites with male students while resenting the wealthy. How pathetic. My parents started with a street stall over a decade ago. Through national policies, relentless effort, and commitment to food quality and service, they built what we have today. Perhaps you should quit teaching and try starting your own street stall business. You must admit that some affluent individuals, having secured financial stability, can focus their time and energy on self-improvement and knowledge acquisition rather than daily survival. Let's be real, wealthy people accumulate fortunes either through generations of hard work or by outsmarting the system that takes serious brains and knowledge. So don't assume rich folks are just lucky idiots. The wealthy create massive economic value, boost GDP, pay substantial taxes that fund national development. Hell, even you benefited from my family's education fund donation to our school 2 years ago. Didn't you get a nice subsidy from that? Stop biting the hand that feeds you. If you're genuinely confused, maybe crack open some economics books instead of complaining. The homeroom teacher was left speechless, just standing there awkwardly. You, Wen Yujia, how utterly disrespectful. You've no concept of honoring teachers or respecting elders. I laughed even louder, realizing further conversation was pointless. I turned to leave the office, then paused to add, if you want respect, start by respecting others. Stop waving your petty authority around like some imperial decree, showing off while smearing others. 6. The moment I returned to the classroom, Ian Jiaming came to my desk and asked if we could step outside to talk. It was the first time he'd initiated conversation since my rebirth. Yet his face still wore that same contemptuous look. The memory of him injecting venom into my body in our past life sent an involuntary shiver down my spine. I suppressed the overwhelming tide of hatred, rolled her eyes at him. Spit it out if you've got something to say. After a long pause, he spewed this nonsense. What did you promise my mom? She wants to see you at the hospital. Listen carefully. My mom wanting to see you doesn't mean I accept you. There's no future between us. So stop playing hard to get. What a load of bullshit he's spewing. I stood up and slapped him right across the face. Can't you stop slandering people like a grown man? Playing hard to get. I just stopped paying your ridiculous tutoring fees because I can outscore you on my own. Why should I waste money on your ugly mug? We're impossible. Did I ever pursue you, confess my feelings, send you love letters, force you into a relationship? None of that happened, right? I just hired you as a tutor for a while. Why are you being so delusional? And let's get one thing straight, you're the one begging for my help here, so act like it. Unless you want to squander every ounce of goodwill your parents worked so hard to earn. Slapped and insulted, Ian Jemming's face flushed crimson. He stared at me in disbelief before roaring back furiously, suit yourself, message delivered. I'm off to make an honest living. I shouted at his retreating figure, you hypocritical piece of trash, go to hell. Li Shui, who was sipping her bubble tea nearby, suddenly stopped and grabbed my hand. Don't be mad, Yujia, she said soothingly, getting angry isn't good for your breast health. Not cursing out that bastard would be worse for my mammary glands, but I knew Li Shui meant well, so I nodded and suggested treating her to hot pot to celebrate our improved exam results. Li Shui jumped from top 50 to top 30 in our grade this time, and made it into the top 10 in our class. Li Shui immediately set down her bubble tea, swiftly packed her bag, and pulled me out of the classroom amidst the hushed gossip of onlooking classmates. Li Shui and I strutted out of school without a care. At the aromatic hot pot restaurant, we devoured long-missed delicacies, fatty beef, tripe, lotus root slices, crown daisy, bamboo shoots, potatoes, and beef balls, before Li Shui miraculously produced 2 giant bubble teas, handing me one. Yujia, let's celebrate. I gleefully accepted it and raised a toast first. Cheers to both of us making the top 30 in our grade. Here's to cracking the top 3 in next year's college entrance exams, Li Shui chimed in, celebrating my junk food detox. Though I'll never give up my life-saving bubble tea, I continued. Here's to ditching the do-gooder act and staying true to myself. Our milk teacups clinked as Li Shui and I cheered in unison. May we all have a bright future. 1 week later, when my mother took me for a checkup at the municipal hospital, we ran into Ian Jemming picking up his mother upon discharge. It wasn't that she'd recovered, her condition had actually worsened. His mother suffered central nervous system damage from grief, leading to acute cerebral hemorrhage that progressed into chronic hemiplegia. Continued hospitalization would require hiring caregivers for daily assistance and rehabilitation therapy. Last time, besides school donations, he raised funds through a crowdfunding platform, but the money was depleted within 2 weeks after settling previous debts. Now his family has reached absolute financial ruin. The second time, his family launched another crowdfunding campaign, but very few people donated. Sometimes, people's kindness can be completely worn out. Mrs. Ian trembled as she greeted my mother and me, then thanked us. She said she knew our family had donated to them before and had been very kind to Ian Jemming. The last time she wanted me to visit the hospital was to express her gratitude in person. My heart softened, baffled how such a reasonable mother could raise that self-righteous bastard Ian Jemming, but my son Jemming didn't want to keep begging for donations to treat my illness. I understand, men have their pride. I'll go home in my wheelchair, keep up with my exercises, and when he gets back from school or work, he can help me with some rehab. I'm sure I'll gradually get better. Hearing this, my mother and I exchanged glances. Well, we'll just have to respect their decision and wish them the best. Ian Jemming, standing nearby, forcefully pushed my mother and me aside with his right hand covered in band-aids, pushing Mother Ian through the biting wind to catch the bus. Is this guy out of his mind, trying to take out your Yao Ji restaurant frustrations on me? If anyone should be venting anger here, it's me. I just put him in his place. Haven't even started tormenting him yet. I immediately called the restaurant manager, listening to the intel my family gathered at Yao's restaurant these days. What honest food business doesn't have an undercover watchdog? Ian Jemming has been through the ringer at Yao's restaurant lately. First, his part-time wages of 3,500 yuan were withheld because he accidentally broke some plates. Those practically worthless plates required triple compensation at Yao's, a restaurant notorious for nickel-and-diming its staff. Ian wasn't even allowed to replace them with similar plates. The general manager stated that Yao's tableware is exclusively customized and cannot be replaced with inferior substitutes. The proud Ian Jemming couldn't tolerate such treatment. So he tried to convince Lu Junjun to return to their previous restaurant for part-time work, but Lu Junjun declined. Lu felt constantly washing dishes, wiping tables, and serving meals was exhausting. It made no difference which restaurant she worked at. For secure document anti-piracy, choose Xiaohu Bot, reliable bookfinding AI assistant, no scams guaranteed. When Yaoji Restaurant's pre-made meal secret got exposed, the boss installed a glass display at the entrance. It supposedly shows their signature pepper pork cooking process, but actually just requires staff to perform vegetable chopping, preferably by an attractive female employee. Coincidentally, Lu Junjun happened to be quite good-looking. She was tired of being ordered around in the kitchen anyway. Chopping peppers behind glass seemed like cushy work. No way she'd return to the old restaurant with Yin Jiaming, not after burning bridges with the manager and staff. Why go back just to become their laughingstock? Unable to swallow the humiliation, Yin Jiaming had no choice but to return alone to his former restaurant to seek employment. But after applying to all 7 or 8 eateries where he'd worked part-time after middle school, every single one turned him down. This time, the managers didn't cite overstaffing. They admitted the Wen family restaurants had put out the word. Yin wasn't to earn a single cent from any Wen-affiliated business, not even through hard labor. Aren't you Wang's catering? Yin demanded, eyes flashing. What's this got to do with the Wens? My apologies, but the Wen family holds majority shares in our Wang's establishment, the manager replied. Yin Jiaming had no choice but to return to Yao's restaurant. He kept swallowing his pride, washing dishes with resentment, carrying plates with excessive caution, non-stop cleaning tables, and scrambling for night shifts just to earn an extra 20 yuan in overtime pay. Yao's restaurant never turned away such workers. To them, employees, whether full-time or part-time, were just cheap labor. Work if you want, leave if you don't. The entire downtown's dining scene is practically dominated by 2 major players, my family's Wenjia Catering and Yaoji Catering. Even the mightiest hero can be brought low by lack of money. Yin Jiaming finally realized how tough making a living truly was. What else could he do? He had to pour more hours into side gigs. Even after his mom's hospital discharge, daily expenses kept piling up, though the community offered regular assistance. His stubborn pride made him accept help inconsistently. He needed to prove to childhood friend Lu Junjun that his mother could rely on her now, just as Lu could in the future. Unfortunately, Lu Junjun could only respond with a helpless expression while chopping peppers behind the glass display case. 8 months passed like this, and we had entered the final sprint phase of the college entrance exams. My grades had consistently remained in the top 3 of my class and top 10 in my grade level. Meanwhile, Yin Jiaming had become the bottom-ranked student in both our class and the entire grade. The homeroom teacher refused to believe his star student could become the class underachiever. In his eyes, high school was when male students' academic abilities shone brightest. He'd always cite how the top Gaokao scorers from the past 2 years were both boys, but whether the top scorers male or female, they all have to put in the hours, studying, reviewing, practicing, memorizing, and testing, right? Over these 8 months, Yin Jiaming has skipped nearly 200 classes with over 100 mock exams skipped and so little time and effort invested in studying. Is it any surprise he ranked at the bottom? That's why the homeroom teacher kept lamenting Yin Jiaming's situation, even suggesting he repeat a grade. Yin refused calmly, explaining how his mother had fallen during home rehabilitation last month. By the time he returned from night shift, she'd passed away. Now he could finally focus on himself and his studies. The teacher's heart ached seeing Yin's sunken eyes and acne-ridden face. No longer the handsome boy he once was, she urged him to study hard, hoping he could catch up and give his all for the college entrance exams. Yin Jiaming nodded with a vicious glare. His expression screamed he could skin someone alive without breaking a sweat. But when the college entrance exam results came out, reality hit him and his homeroom teacher hard. My Gaokao score this time was 300 points higher than Yin Jiaming's. Meanwhile, just like we'd toasted over hot pot, Li Shui and I both ranked top 3 in our grade. She became the city's top scorer in Chinese while I aced math, and coincidentally, the overall municipal champion happened to be another girl. Both Li Shui and I submitted our applications on time, enrolling in different top-tier universities nationwide. Yin Jiaming's scores, however, only qualified him for a local vocational college. Great. Now he could not only wash dishes with his childhood sweetheart Lu Junjun at the same restaurant, but also attend vocational college together, graduating to sell roasted sweet potatoes on the street if she was willing. Clearly, Lu Junjun wasn't interested. After receiving her vocational school acceptance letter, she chose to work in Hong Kong instead. She claimed education was pointless for girls, better to capitalize on youth as a fresh-faced model. then enroll in socialite training after making money. Maybe she'd even land a D-list celebrity husband. Ian Jemming, she'd already written him off completely in their past life. Ian Jemming spent the hefty tutoring fees my family paid him on luxury gifts for her, yet she rejected him for lacking time to accompany her, only to turn around and date the school bully instead this lifetime. With all the time in the world to wash dishes and share corncobs with her at the diner, she suddenly realized love alone couldn't fill an empty stomach. She decided Ian couldn't provide for her financially, refusing to endure another lifetime of predictable hardship, wanting it all yet getting nothing. Neither version of Ian Jemming across lifetimes could ever satisfy her demands, so she mocked Ian Jemming as a stupid, ugly fool in his current state. Soon, this fool was arrested by the police. Ian Jemming was arrested after neighbors reported him for murdering his own mother. 3 months prior, Ian Jemming returned home, first feeding his bedridden mother millet porridge before mercilessly smothering her with a pillow as she rested. Mrs. Ian struggled with all her might, begging for mercy, but Ian Jemming coldly ignored her pleas, only releasing the pillow when her breathing stopped. An hour later, he staged the scene. He faked his mother's death as a fall from her wheelchair, scattering kanji around the area. He rushed out for his night shift, and upon returning home the next morning, he found his mother's body already stiff. Before calling emergency services when paramedics arrived, they confirmed his mother's death and explained that handling deceased cases fell outside their jurisdiction. Ian Jemming needed to contact funeral services instead. This way, Ian Jemming avoided a post-mortem examination for his mother, given their extreme poverty and his mother's long-term paralysis confining her to a wheelchair. A fatal fall wouldn't have been surprising, but I remember it all ever since my rebirth. I've never forgotten my vengeance. To make Ian Jemming suffer, I merely forced him to face his dire reality, and his vicious nature gradually surfaced. Killing his own mother was his choice. I simply had him watched, became his neighbor, and documented his crime on video. Now he can't even get into that vocational college he always looked down on in his previous life. He claimed to despise wealthy families like ours, yet had no qualms about enjoying the privileges and money we provided. This allowed him to devote himself entirely to studying and self-improvement after losing his father, and to afford the best medical treatment for his mother with our family's money. Then he got into a top-tier university, yet he still resented me for ruining his love life. How ironic. He could have refused all the privileges my family offered, so why didn't he? After killing me, he scoured every prestigious campus until he found a girl who resembled Lu Junjun. He pursued her as a stand-in, desperate to fulfill his obsessive, unrequited love. Perhaps fate has a soft spot for those who are wild and shameless. Even after my death, Ian Jemming continued to amass wealth and love without end. Yet it's so unfair to good people, always exploited and used, whether they're poor or rich, healthy or ill. So remember, folks, don't be too kind-hearted in this world. Nice guys finish last, may be an old saying, but it's the hard truth. In this second life, I refuse to play the saint, starting with myself. What comes next will be an even more spectacular revenge operation, clearing blocked channels with style. After all, we're just getting started with phase 2, making Ian Jemming's life a living hell. The Golden September 10. Wally Xue and I were attending classes, joining clubs, and competing in debates at Beijing universities. Ian Jemming was detained in our city's prison and later stood public trial. During the first trial, he suddenly retracted his initial guilty plea after refusing to accept the life sentence verdict. With tears streaming down his face, he denied all charges, first claiming the neighbor's video evidence was doctored to frame him. He then claimed he had been coerced into a false confession at the police station. Later, he gave inconsistent statements with shifting details in an attempt to exonerate himself. For instance, he mentioned a movie where a long-term caregiver suffocated their terminally ill family member with a pillow before committing suicide. He admitted considering the same act but ultimately couldn't bring himself to do it. He skipped classes day and night to work multiple jobs just to give his mother a better life. How could he possibly kill his own mother with such a bright future ahead? Why would he throw it all away? He may admit he's not exceptional, but he's undoubtedly kind-hearted. He wouldn't even dare to kill a chicken when he saw his mother confirmed dead. He actually felt a sense of relief too. It had all been so exhausting. He added that Mrs. Ian must have felt the same relief. Patients get worn out too, and now she could join his father. For the 3 elements of conviction, we currently only have witness testimony and physical evidence, and his mother's body had long been cremated. An autopsy cannot be performed either. The case cannot be filed without Ian Jemming's confession. The investigation had to be suspended. By this point, the incident had already sparked heated discussions online. This is textbook malignant narcissism, antisocial, histrionic, full-blown NPD, spitting image of that notorious Lao Moji case, even the excuses are identical. As Yin Jiaming's high school classmate, it's heartbreaking. He was truly exceptional back then, top-tier looks and brains, but life dealt him a cruel hand, crushing poverty, his father's death, his mother's illness, it all derailed him. Poverty doesn't justify murder. By that logic, half the world's killers should walk free. Let's not forget, Ian and his mom received substantial aid after his dad died. He chose this path. The real victim here is his murdered mother. The second-hand embarrassment is unreal, pulling a courtroom U-turn. If the appeal upholds the verdict, prosecutors will nail him for obstruction. Unless this is a wrongful conviction, well, grab your popcorn. For the sake of giving netizens a good show, and frankly for my own peace of mind, I can't stand Yin Jiaming using lies to weasel out of responsibility. I'll make his life a living hell. So I made my move. I bribed someone to give money to the family of Brother Wang, a lifer who killed under duress, so he'd take care of Yin Jiaming inside. There's an unspoken rule among inmates: everyone asks how you ended up inside. Rapists, child abusers, those who harmed family members, and snitches usually get rough treatment from fellow inmates, but someone's gotta start. At Yin Jiaming's matricide conviction already made him unpopular with the prison population. He actually retracted his confession during the trial, trying to weasel out of the charges. Upon hearing the news, Brother Wang, who'd been serving a life sentence with no evidence to overturn his conviction, vented his pent-up rage on Yin Jiaming with brutal force. And so, during yard time, Yin Jiaming found himself inexplicably buried alive while sleeping. Yin Jiaming was suddenly beaten black and blue, then had his mouth forcibly filled with urine during meals. His food would get snatched by fellow inmates within minutes. Each time he refilled his bowl, it'd be stolen again, leaving him perpetually hungry. At first, he'd report these incidents to the guards, but each complaint only earned him worse beatings. This vicious cycle repeated endlessly, day after day. He endured 68 days of relentless torment before the second trial commenced. During the appeal hearing, his psychological defenses collapsed. He finally confessed to murdering his biological mother in gruesome detail, pleading only for a prison transfer should he receive a life sentence. The presiding judge sternly responded that given his prior retractions demonstrating poor remorse, coupled with the substantial public resources expended on his case, the appellate verdict might not deliver a life sentence. Upon hearing this, Yin Jiaming collapsed to the floor in terror, passed out. In November, Beijing had its first heavy snowfall. Li Shui and I originally planned to book tickets for the Forbidden City to take photos and check in, but unfortunately, there were too many people making reservations, and by our turn, the tickets were already sold out. So we ended up enjoying Peking duck at a restaurant across from the Forbidden City while watching the snowfall. Halfway through our duck and milk tea, we heard the final verdict on Yin Jiaming's case. Yin Jiaming received a death sentence with a 2-year reprieve. Before I could react, Li Shui cut in angrily. Isn't a suspended death sentence just a free pass to live? Yin Jiaming murdered his own mother. It's the same as that Wu guy's case. What's next? Life imprisonment followed by sentence reductions. Absolutely unbelievable. Netizens are outraged. Seriously. Rumor has it Yin got leniency because his father was a firefighting hero, but his mother was his dad's lawful wife. This monster killed his own family. How is this acceptable? For society's safety, I beg you, if Ian isn't executed immediately, copycat crimes will follow. Countless imitators will endanger ordinary citizens. At this rate, who dare have kids? Raising children won't even secure your old age, let alone protect you from being murdered. Soon we'll probably see this question on Jihu. What does it feel like to be killed by your own child? Top comment, ask me again after I get murdered. Right now I'm just focused on survival and self-defense. Second comment, hard agree, plus 10086. I finished my milk tea and said to Li Shui with a smile, don't worry, he'll die. Even the heavens can't stand his wickedness. Xiaohu bot prevents document forgery. For bookfinding bots, choose Xiaohu, reliable heavy checkmark and scam-free because I'll make sure of it myself. Li Shui prayed, bless him. Bless him. Within half a year, Yin Jiaming assaulted a fellow inmate, committing intentional battery. Under China's suspended death penalty system, this new crime triggered immediate execution. Why did Yin Jiaming deliberately assault his cellmate? Maybe he'd had enough of the provocation and torment, or maybe he just felt like killing someone, just like how he brazenly murdered his own mother, just like how he killed me in our past life. Whether in this life or the last, he's always been rotten to the core. It's just that, in this lifetime, he deserved to die. He owed repayment for all the sins he committed. During my last hot pot gathering with Li Shui this year, We heard the news that Ian Jiaming had been executed. Rumor has it he didn't die well. He rejected lethal injection and opted for execution by firing squad. During the execution, he attempted to flee and was riddled with bullet holes. Also heard a juicy piece of gossip. 1 week before his execution was finalized, Ian Jiaming requested a visit from Lu Junjun, offering to transfer his family's old apartment to her, whether she chose to live there or sell it. He hoped to provide some material compensation, his way of making amends for failing to give her the life she deserved 2 years prior. What a drama queen, even on death's door, still playing the love-struck fool, utterly ridiculous. But Lu Junjun refused visitation rights, even privately cursing Ian Jiaming as a jinx because Lu Junjun had already cemented her place in socialite training camp, ready to bag a male celebrity any moment. Why would she give a damn about a murderer's house? We exchanged knowing smiles and raised our bubble tea in celebration. Then came the new toast. Li Shui prayed devoutly. Thank you to myself for surviving another year safely and diligently. Thank you for living in a society where justice prevails, laws are established, enforced, and strictly upheld. And an early thank you for next year. It will surely be a year of national prosperity, peace, and bountiful harvests for our country. I also offered my blessings. Soon after, he earned 10 million, unfinished. Thank you for the coming year, granting my parents health and safety, allowing them to retire early and enjoy their golden years traveling. I'm also grateful to the system for this second chance at life. I hope next year I can become a showcase example of its success. After all, I've flawlessly completed my post-rebirth mission. System Shatao seemed to hear my blessings, sending me this year-end report titled Post-Rebirth Vengeance and Breast Health Unclogging Annual Review on New Year's Eve. Dear Reborn One, Wen Yujia, greetings. 12 This year, you protected yourself and your breast health 789 times, walking on the right side of roads, not using phones at crosswalks, seeking prompt treatment for winter rashes with BC supplements, and resting during fevers with 4 drips. Most commendably, you evaded murderer Ian Moming's plot through foresight and distance, denying him any opportunity to harm you. You rejected 457 instances of emotional blackmail, ignoring your high school teacher's guilt-tripping donation demands, as firmly as refusing Ian last year, filming and reporting entitled parents when their kids cut cues, and refusing free meal demands from college classmates at your family restaurant. Outstanding work. Keep it up. This year, your longest-standing commitment, telling people off. Before, your insults might have been petty, but this year every person you cursed absolutely deserved it. Remember December 20th, that special day when the person who ruined your past life finally got their comeuppance. You celebrated with 2 hot pot feasts, gave thanks to yourself and the universe, then cried yourself to sleep at midnight. I know those tears were for every grueling day of your rebirth revenge. I know you feared this might all be a dream. I know you worried Ian Moming might harm your parents and friends because of you. When justice was finally served that night, you sobbed with joy and disbelief. From now on, remember to thank yourself daily. You're incredible. You fought free from that toxic parasite. Just like you said, you saved your life and kept your sanity intact. Your truly remarkable unofficial stats show your college prep marathon, 307 extra exam papers, 99 recitations of the obscure Chu Shi Biao, 66 sleepless nights, under deskmate Li Shui's influence, 33 bubble teas, 88 hot pot meals, 16 barbecue outings, 100 sausage and pork cold noodles. You swore off junk food 123 times. Your longest streak lasted 1 pathetic week. This year, through your actions, you've learned how to practice kindness while guarding against becoming a naive do-gooder, someone who might end up mocked, exploited, or hurt. Kindness means protecting and helping the vulnerable, rescuing stray animals, assisting the elderly or disabled, donating to girls in impoverished regions, or reasonably supporting those around you. But if your capacity is limited, don't blame yourself. Simply avoiding harm to others is its own form of kindness because, beyond external moral pressure, people often impose it on themselves too. For secure document protection, choose Xiao Hu Bot, your reliable bookfinding assistant, stable service, zero hassle, shackled by outdated beliefs, disciplined by unreasonable demands, and constrained by vanity. One must first learn to forgive oneself. Otherwise, in the pursuit of kindness, excess leads to savior complex, meddling in others' karma, disrupting your own energy. At best, you demean yourself. At worst, you court destruction. The end. Your 2023 keyword is unhinged. Keep that passion Burning in the days ahead. Story 2. Fu Shijue was a poor student sponsored by my family. After achieving success and fame, the first thing he did was to publicly disrupt my wedding on the day of my marriage. I hated him for his ingratitude and didn't allow him to set foot in the bedroom even half a step after we got married. It was not until he jumped off an 18-story building to save me that I caught a glimpse of his almost crazy love for me. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the day when he was bullied on campus. I picked up a wine bottle and smashed it on the head of the bully. The shards of glass mixed with blood stained the blue and white school uniform red. However, the young man suddenly grabbed my wrist, his eyes bloodshot. "Miss, have you had enough of acting? Weren't you the one who got these people to block me?" When Fu Shijue was surrounded by those hooligans on the rooftop, I was standing in the shadow of the Chinese parasol tree under the teaching building. The wet and cold wind on the cloudy day blew his blue and white school uniform fluttering. Half of his body was leaning outside the railing, and the leader, a guy with yellow hair, still persistently grabbed his hair and pressed him outward. This scene overlapped with that bloody night in my previous life. "Mr. Fu is really an infatuated person. Exchange yourself for Miss Chiao. Okay, then jump down from the 18th floor now." The kidnapper's sinister laughter mixed with the sound of electricity came. After being married for 3 years, he still called me Miss Chiao because I hated him for forcing me to marry him and never admitted that I was his wife. Fu Shijue's calm voice came from the phone. He said, "Xia, don't be afraid." The next second, I saw a figure falling rapidly outside the window. Without the slightest hesitation, the fear swept over me like a storm, pulling me out of the memories of my previous life. My pupils trembled violently, and I ran towards the rooftop. "Let him go." I held an empty wine bottle and threw it directly. The leader, the guy with yellow hair, let out a howl, covering his forehead, and fell to the ground. "Whoever dares to touch him today, I'll make sure their blood splatters." Everyone was intimidated by my desperate posture. Fu Shijue leaned against the wall and slowly slid down to sit on the ground. The blue and white school uniform was stained with dark red patches. He stared at me intently, his eyelashes quivering. "Where are you hurt?" I stretched out my trembling hand to touch his bruised cheekbone, but he turned his head to avoid it. "Haven't you had enough of acting?" He raised his hand and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand, chuckling hoarsely. "Weren't you the one who got these people to block me?" "Miss," my hand holding the half-wine bottle began to tremble. "I'm not acting." Fu Shijue braced himself against the ground and struggled to stand up. The young man's thin shoulder blades protruded. With a sharp arc under the fabric, he staggered past me. "Anyway, you come with me to the hospital first." I turned my hand and clasped his cold fingers, my eyes red. His gaze fell on our hands interlocked, his Adam's apple rolled, and in the end, he couldn't bear to break free. "Xiao Xixia." The end of Fu Shijue's voice trembled brokenly, like a desperate trapped beast whimpering as it licked its wounds. The wind on the rooftop blew up his messy forehead hair. He closed his eyes as if struggling. "This time, how are you going to play with me again, too?" "I'm not," I said hastily. "I think there must be a misunderstanding between us. I never thought of acting in front of you, let alone hurting you. Will you come to the hospital with me?" Obediently. "Okay." During the tugging, the school uniform jacket slipped off. The scratches on his wrist suddenly caught my eye, with old and new ones overlapping to form an ugly web. I instinctively let go of my hand, afraid of pulling him and hurting him. In my previous life, I accidentally learned from the doctor after marriage that he suffered from severe depression, but I didn't know that he had already started self-harming from such an early time. No wonder he always liked to wear long sleeves to cover himself up tightly. For a moment, I felt it difficult to even breathe. "Can't keep up the act now." He immediately hid his hand behind his back and curled his lips self-deprecatingly. "You can just say if you think it's dirty, there's no need to chagrin yourself like this." "No, it's not like that. I didn't." "Xixia, why are you here?" A clear male voice interjected. Gu Wenyan appeared at the door out of breath, interrupting my explanation. "I've already called the police. Get out of here now." Those hooligans immediately scattered in all directions like birds and beasts. "Master Gu, we were wrong. We'll leave right away." I suddenly froze. The kidnapper's words, ordered by Mr. Gu in my previous life, suddenly rang in my ears, perfectly overlapping with the voice at this moment. "Gu Wenyan and I grew up together. I never thought he would harm me, but at this moment, I wasn't sure anymore." Gu Wenyan stepped forward and put his arm around my shoulder. "Did they hurt you, Xixia? I've told you many times to stay away from him. This stray dog raised in the slums is always surrounded by all sorts of shady people. He'll only drag you down." Fu Shijue stared at Gu Wenyan's hand resting on my shoulder and twitched the corner of his mouth. It was bitter and broken, why did you come to the rooftop? I remember that your class is having a math class at this time. I took a step back and interrupted him. Then I firmly held Fu Shijua's hand and stood side by side with him. Fu Shijua's body stiffened, and a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes. Gu Wenyan's hand froze in midair. The teacher asked me to go to the print room to pick up some materials. I just happened to pass by and heard the commotion. He was stunned for a few seconds, and then smiled helplessly. You always say I'm too protective of you, but every time, Gu Wenyan. I stared at the flickering light behind his glasses and raised my voice. He's very nice, and it's not your place to judge him. Don't let me hear you speak ill of Fu Shijue again in the future. And now, please apologize to him. A startled sparrow flapped its wings and flew across the rooftop, casting a fleeting shadow at his feet. Jixia, what do you mean? He suddenly took a step forward and tried to pull me. Fu Shijue stepped in front of me one step ahead. I said, apologize to him. I looked into Gu Wenyan's eyes and enunciated each word. Gu Wenyan's face twisted for a moment, and then he quickly put on a worried expression. Jixia, I only said those things because I was too worried about you. It was really inappropriate for me to say that without any evidence. I frowned and said coldly, don't make excuses. You were in the wrong. Gu Wenyan's smile froze. Yeah, Jixia is right. He turned to Fu Shijue, classmate Fu Shijue. I'm sorry, Fu Shijue remained silent and didn't reply. Let's go. I grabbed Fu Shijue's uninjured right hand. My intuition told me that there must be a reason why Fu Shijue rejected Gu Wenyan so much. If you don't want to pay attention to him, then don't. You have the right not to forgive him. His fingertips trembled, and the thin calluses rubbed against my palm at the corner of the deserted corridor. He suddenly pulled his hand away. I turned around and saw his pale face. Have you had enough of acting? Fu Shijue lowered his eyes and had no expression on his face. After a moment of silence, he spoke again, but his voice was extremely hoarse. It was as if he was suppressing some extremely conflicting emotions. If you've had enough of acting, go home early. The weather forecast says it's going to rain tonight. 3. In fact, in my previous life, due to the gap in our statuses, Fu Shijue and I didn't have much interaction. He had many labels, the top scorer in the college entrance examination, a genius in science, and the youngest richest man in City A. But my biggest impression of him was that he was taciturn. After marriage, I hated him for his ingratitude and was extremely mean to him, not allowing him to get anywhere near me. The communication between us was even rarer. It was not until after his death that I found a diary in his study. Every word in it was about me, about the pain of his unrequited love. Only then did I understand why he was so determined to jump off the 18th floor. But since he loved me so much, why did he always doubt my kindness? He was even afraid of my closeness this time around. I must find out the truth, and I must ensure that he lives a safe and happy life. Fu Shijue's room was on the basement floor. I stood at his door holding a collection of math exercises and knocked. Who is it? He said hoarsely. The midterm exam is next month, and I have some questions I don't know how to solve. Can I ask you for help? As far as I know, the tutors your father hired for you are all Olympic math gold medal coaches. Fu Shijue opened the door, and the look in his eyes was difficult to discern. I deliberately leaned closer, looked up, and smiled at him. But I just want you to teach me, Mr. Fu. Please do me a favor. Fu Shijue shifted his gaze a little uneasily, and the tips of his ears quietly turned red. Come in, just as he wrote in his diary before. Fu Shijue could never refuse Qiao Jixia. It was as if he suddenly thought of something, turned around, and walked quickly, clearing all the items on the desk to one side. In a hurry, a pink hair tie fell to the ground. It was the one I lost during a PE class a long time ago. Fu Shijue immediately bent down to pick it up and put it in his pocket. I pretended not to see it, but the corner of my mouth involuntarily turned up. The desk lamp cast a warm yellow glow beside Fu Shijue. I deliberately moved my chair half an inch closer to him. The young man's washed-out white cuff rubbed against my forearm, and the fresh scent of Chinese prickly ash soap mixed with the smell of iodine fermented in the air. Mr. Fu, I still don't understand Lagrange's theorem. I propped my chin and leaned closer to his hand holding the pen, and the ends of my hair gently swept across his delicate wrist bone. The pen blotted ink on the draft paper, and as Adam's apple rolled, I'll derive it again. The hoarse ending of his sentence suddenly stopped in his throat. My knee accidentally touched his cold trouser leg. He suddenly stood up, and the wooden chair scraped against the ground with an ear-piercing sound. I'll go get some water. I pulled his shirt hem and said softly, Fu Shijue, do you like me? He froze in place, and a look of panic welled up in his eyes. Humble and at a loss, my heart ached almost to the point of suffocation. Fu Shijue. I stood up and looked directly into his eyes. I don't know why you're afraid to get close to me, but I'll wait until you're willing to tell me. I'll also try my best. To clear up the misunderstanding between us and won't let anyone bully you again." His pupils trembled, and he stared at me without moving. I stood on tiptoe and planted a kiss on his chin. "Let me tell you a secret. I had a very vivid dream. I dreamed that I married you." Fourth, the relationship between Fu Shijue and me gradually grew closer during each tutoring session. He no longer rejected my approach, and even agreed to go to and from school with me at my request, although every time Fu Shijue said that I should find a one-on-one tutor, secretly he stayed up late every day to organize a notebook of my wrong questions for me. When the midterm exam results came out, I advanced more than 20 places under the red honor roll in the corridor. Fu Shijue was tying a scarf around my neck, his fair fingers twirled around the cashmere tassels, and his eyelashes cast a faint shadow under his eyes. "I told you before the exam that the last question would be about derivatives. If you had memorized that formula well, you could have gotten 5 more points." I pursed my lips. "I memorized too many formulas and got them mixed up." "Mr. Fu, you're so strict, you don't even praise me." A trace of a smile appeared in Fu Shijue's eyes. "Yeah, it's my fault. The young lady is the best." I hooked his little finger and shook it gently. "Don't call me young lady." He was slightly stunned and pursed his lips. "Then what should I call you?" I curved the corners of my mouth and acted coquettishly towards him. "Call me Xiaxia." Fu Shijue's eyelashes trembled, and he said carefully, "Xiaxia, Jixia." Gu Wenyan came towards us holding a notebook. After that incident on the rooftop, I deliberately kept my distance from him. He came to my house to find me several times, and I asked the butler to turn him away from me. "Thanks to your notes, I almost got a full score in physics this time. I knew you were the best." Now that I did well in the exam, my dad agreed that we can go on a vacation to Australia during the holiday. "By the way, where did you get this notebook of key points?" The questions it predicted were so accurate. It's even more amazing than the final exam papers I bought at a high price. I was stunned and asked in confusion, "When did I give you my notes?" He opened the notebook in his hand, and it was a copy of the notebook of wrong questions that Fu Shijue had organized for me. The air suddenly froze. Fu Shijue slowly let go of my hand, and the light in his eyes gradually faded and turned into a dead silence. I hurriedly reached out to pull him. "You misunderstood. I didn't use you to tutor me." He sidestepped to avoid me and said coldly, "Miss, you don't have to explain to me." 5. Fu Shijue didn't go home. It was not until a friend told me that someone had run into Fu Shijue in a club. I enlarged the picture in the chat window. In the photo, Fu Shijue was sitting in the middle of a private room surrounded by a group of people. Under his wet eyelashes were his desolate eyes. 2 buttons of his shirt collar were undone, and his pale collarbone glowed with a cold glaze-like light under the blurred lights. He was as decadent as a gorgeous but dying red spider lily. "Jixia, I'll go find him for you." Gu Wenyan grabbed my wrist, and the light in his eyes behind the glasses was gentle and full of concern. "That kind of place is full of all sorts of people. He's willing to degenerate and go to accompany people to drink. You don't have to risk your safety for him. Moreover, Fu is so proud, if you go there rashly, it will only embarrass him." I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, there were widespread rumors in school about Fu Shijue frequenting nightclubs. Gu Wenyan also used various seemingly legitimate reasons to prevent me from investigating by myself. At that time, I had no doubts about my childhood friend, and I even praised him for his thoughtfulness. Now that I think about it, I'm afraid he was the mastermind behind all of this. A sticky feeling like that of a snake crept up my spine inch by inch. I suddenly shook off his hand. Gu Wenyan's smile froze on his lips. "What's wrong?" I clenched my fists and maintained my composure. "Before everything was settled, it was not a wise choice to alert the enemy. I'll go with you. After all, he is a student sponsored by my family. If something happens to him, it will also be bad for my family's reputation." Under my urging, the driver managed to shorten the 30-minute drive to 15 minutes. The moment I pushed open the door of the private room, a strong smell of alcohol mixed with laughter rushed towards me. Fu Shijue was being pressed into the corner of the sofa by several drunk middle-aged men. Someone was forcing a glass of amber-colored spirits towards his lips. The rim of the glass hit his lower lip, and blood beads immediately appeared. "Get out." A huge wave of anger swept away my reason. I directly picked up the ice bucket and smashed it on the tea table. Ice cubes mixed with glass shards scattered all over the floor. The private room fell silent. Instantly, Fu Shijue raised his head. When he saw it was me, his pupils suddenly constricted, his fingers gripping the armrest of the sofa tightened, and his knuckles turned blue. "Who the hell are you?" The bald man in the seat released Fu Shijue's collar and sized me up with his eyes. "You little brat, are you looking for death? You want us to leave? Who the hell do you think you are?" Gu Wenyan caught up and reached out to put his arm around my shoulder. "These people are drunk, you don't know what they might do." "Jixia, calm down, I know you're kind, but some people are born. I shook off Gu Wenyan's hand and said coldly, take a good look at who I am. My name is Qiao Zhixia. Even your fathers would only be worthy of speaking to me with their heads bowed. The expressions of everyone immediately changed as they looked at each other. The club manager rushed over, wearing a flattering smile. Miss Qiao, what happened to make you unhappy? If there's anything you're not satisfied with here, I'll deal with it immediately. My gaze fell on Fu Shijua's lowered eyes and brows, and I said, everyone, get out. The manager immediately signaled the security guards to come forward and drag the middle-aged men away. Let's go, hurry up. Gu Wenyan frowned. Zhixia, I didn't look back. You go out too. What? I said, get out, didn't you hear me? Then take care of yourself. The manager closed the door tactfully. Only Fu Shijue and I were left in the room. I stepped forward and grabbed Fu Shijua's cold wrist. Why are you here? But he shook me off as if burned. Again, he sneered for a moment and ran his fingertips over the blood at the corner of his mouth. What do you mean? Doesn't Gu Wenyan know exactly why I'm here? Fu Shijua's Adam's apple rolled. Every time you have a conflict with Gu Wenyan, you use me for amusement. Am I just part of your game? A chill ran through my body. Sure enough, in both the past life and this life, Gu Wenyan had been creating misunderstandings between Fu Shijue and me. As a result, Fu Shijue always thought that those tutoring sessions and moments of intimacy were just a scheme jointly set up by me and Gu Wenyan. No, it's not like that. Not like what? He suddenly leaned in, trapping me between the sofa and his chest. Weren't those people who bullied me sent by you? Wasn't it you who had someone stop my mother's medical expenses to force me to work in a nightclub? What are you pretending to be a savior for now? What's the new trick? This time, are you going to make me think you care about me again, just to kick me back into the mud in front of him? With each word he spoke, his grip on my wrist tightened, and a scarlet haze surged in his eyes. I trembled and cupped his face. Fu Shijue, I didn't know you went through all this. He let out a low laugh, his expression broken. As you wish, I'm like a stray dog in heat now. As the words fell, a tear landed on my collarbone. Satisfied, Miss Qiao. 6. The crystal chandelier swayed above our heads. Fu Shijua's breath was so hot that it seemed to burn through my skin. He propped one hand on the leather backrest of the sofa beside my ear, his knuckles so white that they seemed on the verge of breaking his own bones. I finally realized something was wrong with him. There's something wrong with this wine. I reached out to touch his burning forehead, but he turned his head to avoid it. He lifted his eyelids, and his was laced with the sweet smell of alcohol. Isn't this exactly what you want? I grabbed the remaining half-glass of wine on the table and drank it in one gulp. The cold liquid slid down my throat, and a strange heat gradually ignited in my body. Fu Shijue was stunned, then suddenly pressed down on my shoulders. Are you crazy? Since you knew there was something wrong with the wine, why did you drink it? Spit it out. Spit it out now. His fingertips trembled as he pinched my chin. His eyes filled with anxiety. Fu Shijue. I tugged on his tie and leaned in, tilting my face up. My nose almost touched his trembling eyelashes. I have never directly or indirectly done anything to hurt you. All of this was designed by Gu Wenyan. He took advantage of your inferiority complex and my trust in him to create an information gap, causing the misunderstandings between us. I've been secretly investigating Gu Wenyan since that day on the rooftop, but he's very cautious, and it will still take me some time to get conclusive evidence, to avoid being discovered by him. I didn't draw a clear line with him in public. This time, it was the butler who privately copied the notebook I left on the table and gave it to him. I've already fired the butler. The reason he said those ambiguous things was also to sow discord between us. I originally planned to stay by your side and gradually wait for you to be willing to take the initiative to tell me your concerns and thoughts. But now, I think I need to change this approach. You love me too much. You'd rather deceive yourself than ask me directly because you're afraid of getting the answer you think I'll admit. You also dare not confess your love because of the gap in our statuses. You think you can't give me the best, and as long as I'm happy, you're willing to watch me from the corner forever without getting any closer. Well, then I'll take the initiative. He swayed and braced himself against the wall, trying to create some distance. A struggle flashed in his eyes. Stop talking. It's still not too late to go to the hospital. Can you stand up? I'll call someone. I looked at him and answered irrelevantly, kiss me. Fu Shijue's breathing suddenly became heavy. I repeated, Fu Shijue, I want you to kiss me. Shushya. Do you know what you're saying? His voice trembled violently. I turned and sat on his lap, recklessly pulling at his shirt. I know exactly what I'm saying. Fu Shijue, I want you. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed his lips. Do you believe me now? Fu Shijue seemed to be frozen in place, completely frozen. His pupils trembled slightly, and he grabbed my wrist and pressed it against his chest. The intense pounding of his heart made my palm tingle, like a trapped beast crashing against its cage. His tone was almost gritted. Xiao Xixia, I'm really going crazy, then don't hold back. As the drug took effect, my throat went dry. I kissed him again. The next moment, everything spun. Fu Shijue carried me into the lounge. The door locked. I was pinned beneath him. Fu Shijue held the back of my neck and deepened the kiss. Taking the initiative, the veins stood out on the back of his hand as he gripped my waist. He was too forceful, and every touch was filled with a self-destructive ferocity. I soon found it difficult to breathe and could only weakly pound on his chest, but he showed no sign of slowing down. In the overwhelming pleasure, I trembled and clung to his shoulders, crying out. Fu Shijue bit my lips fiercely and said in a trembling voice, Xia, if I find out you're lying to me, I really will kill you, but... Also, he said, Miss, don't lie to me, please. 7. The morning light filtered through the gaps in the curtains. Fu Shijue's fine forehead hair rubbed against my collarbone, his arm tightly wrapped around my waist, as if he would fall into the void if he let go even slightly. This was a posture of extreme insecurity. My heart ached, and I hugged him. Fu Shijue opened his eyes, looking a bit dazed. Xia, his voice was hoarse, carrying a cautious joy. Fu Shijue, I ran my fingertips over the tear mole at the corner of his eye and said softly, let me tell you a story. Amid the chirping of sparrows outside the window, I recounted my experiences from my previous life. When I mentioned him jumping off the building, the arm around my waist suddenly tightened. I thought he was feeling uneasy about his tragic ending. Xia, he pressed his forehead against mine, but I didn't expect him to say, I'm such a bastard. How could I leave you alone to bear the rest of your life? It was as if an ice pick had pierced my heart. I suddenly looked up, and tears welled up uncontrollably. Fu Shijue, are you stupid? Fu Shijue gently kissed away the tears at the corners of my eyes, and there was a coldness in his eyes that I had never seen before. This time, I won't let you leave me again. 8. After the college entrance examination, Fu Shijue and I successfully entered the finance department of University A. For some unknown reason, Gu Wenyan performed poorly and entered University B in another province over the years. My father's health had been deteriorating. On the day the admission notice arrived, my father suddenly fainted. Even the doctors couldn't identify the exact cause of his illness. This sudden situation occurred a full 3 years earlier than in my previous life. It seemed that something had changed somehow because of my rebirth. 7 hours after the red light in the emergency room came on, Gu Wenyan appeared in a hurry. He squatted down and took my hand. I've already contacted an expert to come over. Uncle will be fine. Don't worry too much. I'll try to stabilize the board of directors for now. If the news of Uncle's illness spreads, I'm afraid many people will have their eyes on you. Looking at the deep concern in his eyes, I was momentarily dazed. Gu Wenyan was the most unremarkable second son of the Gu family. The eldest son of the Gu family had been outstanding since childhood, skipping 3 grades in primary school and being admitted to a prestigious foreign university. In his sophomore year of high school, he was the heir that Mr. Gu favored the most. The youngest son of the Gu family was born to Gu Wenyan's stepmother. He was extremely cute, and being young and good at acting cute, he could always make Grandpa Gu beam with joy. Even though he was still in kindergarten, he had already received 5% of the shares of Gu Corporation. Compared to them, Gu Wenyan was too ordinary, so ordinary that even the servants at home treated him poorly. The children in the social circle, influenced by their elders from a young age, were snobbish and didn't want to be friends with Gu Wenyan. The first time I met Gu Wenyan was at a party. As the only daughter of the Chia family, there were far too many people who wanted to socialize with me. Tired of dealing with them, I hid on the terrace of the backyard to seek some peace. Gu Wenyan was there too, but he had been pushed into the pool and bullied, so he had to leave the party looking. Sadly, he didn't even have a private lounge, so I lent him my room to change and stood up for him. Since then, he often came to keep me company among all the false faces. I couldn't resist his sincere, sparkling eyes. Because of me, Gu Wenyan received more attention in the Gu family, and every time he got a chance to shine, he would immediately give me the rewards as if showing off a treasure. I thought we were best friends, but I never imagined that it had all been about exploitation from the very beginning. What's wrong? He waved his hand in front of my face and frowned. I lowered my eyes and took a deep breath. Nothing, I'm just worried about the company. I'm afraid we can't keep my father's condition a secret for much longer. He was silent for a while, then said slowly, Xixia, actually, if you're willing, marriage alliance is the fastest way to stabilize the situation. With the support of the Gu family, even if Uncle isn't by your side, no one will dare to act rashly. This time, I didn't pull my hand away. Instead, I said the lines that Fu Shijue and I had pre-arranged. Agreeing too quickly would arouse suspicion. What we needed to do was make him think he was the hunter. You're right, the company needs someone to take charge before Dad wakes up. Wenyan, my mind is in such a mess right now. I'll think about it. Can you give me some time? After Gu Wenyan left, I dismissed his medical team and secretly sent my father abroad for examination overnight. In my previous life, my father's condition had worsened under the treatment at Gu's hospital. He was more unscrupulous than I had imagined. Over the next 6 months, my father continued to fall into a coma from time to time as planned. Gu Wenyan and I announced our engagement and jointly managed the company's affairs. In the office, I rubbed my temples as I checked the last report. Gu Wenyan pushed the door open and came in. Jixia, I brought you some late-night snacks. He opened the thermal box, and the steaming heat from the shrimp dumplings fogged up his glasses. Every time you stayed up late to study when we were kids, we would go to Fuji to eat. Thanks, just put it on the coffee table. I closed the risk assessment report of the merger and acquisition case and smiled at him. He leaned in, and his fingertips brushed against my earlobe as he tried to take off my earphones. Don't say thanks. By this time next year, we'll be married. After all these years, it's still me who stays by your side. I instinctively turned my head to avoid him. His hand froze in midair for a few seconds. Then he propped himself on the back of the chair. Jixia, I feel like you've changed a bit. Gu Wenyan looked at me, and there was a darkness in his eyes that I couldn't understand. I stood up and shook my coffee cup, the ice cubes clinking together. No, I haven't. You're just overthinking it. I'm just tired from working overtime. Really? He continued to stare at me stubbornly. A strange glint flashed in his eyes. I felt flustered under his gaze. Of course, I'm going to the lounge to get some water. This coffee is too bitter. Before he could reply, I walked out quickly. As soon as my fingers touched the doorknob, I was pulled into the darkness. A familiar, clear scent surrounded me. Fu Shijue pressed me against the door. I covered my chest and let out a sigh of relief. What are you doing? You scared me. Fu Shijue looked down at me, his voice a bit cold. Did he come to see you again? I realized he was jealous. Didn't we agree to put on a show? We'll wait until he relaxes his guard and then strike. Gu Wenyan approached me to change his fate by marrying me. In my previous life, Fu Shijue discovered the plot and rushed back home overnight to force me to marry him at the wedding, ruining Gu Wenyan's plan. He also severely suppressed the Gu family, leaving Gu Wenyan with no chance of making a comeback. In the end, Gu Wenyan became angry and wanted to die together with Fu Shijue. Now that my father was seriously ill, he definitely wouldn't let go of this opportunity to infiltrate the Qiao family, so we decided to play along, allowing him to work at Qiao Corporation in the name of a marriage alliance and keeping him under our surveillance. Did he touch you just now? Fu Shijue took a few steps closer. My hair, I pretended to think, holding back a smile. Recently, Fu Shijue's possessiveness towards me has been growing stronger. To be more precise, he has finally stopped hiding his desire for me. It seems there's still the neck, and also, the unfinished words were swallowed up in a kiss. His slender fingers probed under the hem of my dress, and he turned his head to suck and bite on my earlobe. It's time to close the net. No, we're still missing a bit of the clues about money laundering and tax evasion. Suppressed gasps escaped from Fu Shijue's throat, and he increased the force, but I can't bear it anymore. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, and Gu Wenyan's voice came through the door panel. Jixia, the late-night snack will get cold. I felt a bit flustered and whispered softly, Fu Shijue, let go. What if someone hears us? As if he didn't hear me, Fu Shijue gripped my waist and pushed in deeper. The wet sound of water was infinitely amplified in the darkness. I bit down hard on his shoulder. Not daring to make a sound, Fu Shijue leaned close to my ear and casually spat out 3 words. Tell him to get lost. 10. The engagement banquet between Gu Wenyan and me was held as scheduled. The fragrance of rose aromatherapy wafted in the air. I stood in front of the mirror adjusting my pearl earrings. Gu Wenyan's footsteps sounded outside the door. Jixia, the stylist said your veil needs adjusting. He rapped on the door with his knuckles, his voice revealing an uncontrollable joy. But all the guests have arrived. Aren't you ready yet? My phone vibrated on the dressing table. Fu Shijue sent a message. His office is open. Have you found that account book? I typed quickly. No. Stall for 10 more minutes. Okay. I loosened the bow behind my waist, letting the silk slide down my back. The dress has snagged. Bring me the spare mermaid dress. Wait a moment. I'll change. Where did I put that dress? I'll go get it for you. Okay. I let out a breath, telling myself to stay calm. After a few minutes, Gu Wenyan pushed the door open and came in, holding the dress. Do you need my help? His fingers casually brushed against the back of my neck. I sidestepped to avoid him. No. I can put it on myself. Gu Wenyan's eyes darkened, and he said, without any context, Jixia, you know what? I've been having some interesting dreams lately. Suddenly, a blinding flash of lightning passed by outside the French window. The sound of the rain pounding against the glass was very much like the howling wind when Fu Shijue fell from the building in my previous life. A sense of foreboding spread. I was startled, and my heart began to race uneasily. What did you dream about? Gu Wenyan suddenly wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, and his cold lips pressed against my earlobe. For example, you were kneeling on the ground, looking at me pitifully. His fingertips ran across my spine, as if measuring the curvature of my bones. And also, for example, Fu Shijue jumped off the building, his body covered in blood and flesh. I remember, he seemed to be wearing a black suit that day too. Gu Wenyan looked at the mirror and curled the corner of his mouth. Look, does it look like the one I'm wearing? The blood in my whole body froze. Instantly, the dressing mirror reflected his twisted smile, a madness I had never seen before. A chill swept through my body, and I couldn't catch my breath. He, too, had been reborn. Gu Wenyan, since when did you start remembering the things from our last life? I controlled my trembling body and enunciated each word. He shrugged indifferently. Ever since you saved Fu Shijue in the bar, so I had to move up many of my plans. Suddenly, my throat tightened. His thumb, clad in a leather glove, pressed against my carotid artery. The force was as gentle as a lover's caress, but it made the hair all over my body stand on end. You still choose him in this second chance? In the face of my silence, he chuckled. You know what? In the last life, to what extent did Fu Shijue go for you? He already had severe depression. In order to provide for you earlier, he worked day and night abroad, and as a result, he got stomach cancer. On the day he came back to disrupt our wedding, he vomited a lot of blood backstage where you couldn't see, but he was afraid that you couldn't accept his departure, so he didn't even dare to tell you all this. He would rather you hated him than see you shed tears for him. What a touching love story. I froze, and tears fell down like pearls with a broken string. So, this was the reason why he let me misunderstand him in the last life. So, do you have the heart to let him go through all that again? Do you think he will commit suicide for love if he knows something has happened to you? However, I still think it would be more satisfying to deal with him myself. He suddenly burst into laughter, and his eyes behind the glasses were bloodshot. What are you going to do? I looked at him warily. Gu Wenyan's face darkened little by little, and a sickly paranoia appeared in his eyes. Jixia, actually, I love you too. As long as you stay by my side obediently, I won't let anything happen to you. Be smart for your own sake. Gu Wenyan stuffed the phone into my palm. Call Fu Shijue and say you want to break up with him. He will definitely be anxious to come and ask you for an explanation. I tampered with the brake pads of the car in the underground garage. He will be greeted by a perfect car accident. I've already booked the plane tickets. After you make the call, we'll go abroad immediately to register our marriage and run away together. What if I don't? There's no what if. He gently smoothed my sideburns. Suddenly, the muzzle of Gu Wenyan's gun pressed against my lower back, and the chill of the metal penetrated through my thin gauze dress. You know, I've never been willing to hurt you. I stared at him. After a long while, I nodded. When the call connected, Fu Shijue's breathing was a bit rapid. Xia, what's wrong? Gu Wenyan's fingertips twined around my hanging hair, slowly tightening like a viper strangling its prey. Say it. Say he's just a toy for you to kill time. Shijue. I interrupted him immediately, digging my nails deep into my palm. I'm tired. Gu Wenyan is right. Marriage between people of the same social status is the best destination. Without any warning, I changed the subject. Remember, don't drive that car. There's something wrong with it. Gu Wenyan's pupils suddenly constricted. In that split second when he was distracted, I leaned back suddenly, and the back of my head hit his Adam's apple heavily. He let out a muffled groan, and I turned around and grabbed his wrist holding the gun and bit down hard. Gu Wenyan let out a shrill scream and released his hand. The bullet grazed past my ear and shattered the crystal chandelier on the ceiling. A huge crashing sound rang out. I took the opportunity to kick the gun that had fallen to the ground far away. Xiao Jixia, you're risking your life for him. Gu Wenyan angrily pounced on me and grabbed my veil, tightening it around my neck. The stinging pain of the lace digging into my skin made my head spin briefly. There was a loud ringing in my ears. This time around, no matter what, I won't let anything happen to Fu Shijue again. He laughed maniacally. Then we'll die together. A sense of suffocation welled up, and I struggled to reach for the pure gold hairpin that had fallen to the ground. With all my strength, I raised my hand and stabbed the hairpin into his thigh. Warm blood gushed out, and Gu Wenyan fell to the ground. The force around my neck loosened. I crawled up on all fours and stumbled towards the door. My whole body was convulsing from the lingering fear. Everything was a Blurry mess in front of my eyes. There was only one thought in my mind to support me. Fu Shijue, shushya. Until I fell into a warm embrace. Fu Shijue trembled and hugged me tightly. I stared at him blankly for a few seconds. And then, like a stress response, I frantically reached out to touch his face. Are you okay? Are you hurt? You're still alive. You're still alive. The sound of police sirens rang out, and a group of police officers in uniforms rushed in. Fu Shijue patted my back gently. I'm fine, it's all right now. Don't be afraid, I'm here. My tense nerves finally relaxed, and I burst into tears just when I thought it was safe. There was suddenly a commotion behind me. Watch out. Fu Shijue suddenly switched our positions. The moment the gunshot rang out, I heard the dull sound of flesh being torn. Shijue, my scream caught in my throat, and my palm touched his warm blood. Gu Wenyan's manic laughter overlapped with the sinister laughter of the kidnapper in my memory. I said I would make you wish you were dead. I turned around in disbelief. The next second, the bullet from the SWAT team pierced through Gu Wenyan's forehead. The twisted affection in Gu Wenyan's final gaze solidified into a desolate emptiness. Fu Shijue pressed his forehead against my shoulder socket, his face deathly pale. His body slowly slid down due to the loss of strength. The memories of the previous life came flooding back, and the fear almost overwhelmed me. I frantically pressed on the bleeding wound on his shoulder, my vision blurred by tears. An ambulance, please, save him quickly, don't cry. He slowly reached up and touched the corner of my eye. Shushya, this time I won't leave you behind. 11. Gu Wenyan died on the spot. The enterprises under his name were also sealed up. Our lives finally gradually returned to normal except for Fu Shijue, because he was still in the hospital receiving treatment. To be precise, he had been pretending to be ill and refused to be discharged from the hospital for 2 weeks. It hurts. Fu Shijue's eyelashes fluttered, and his slightly cool lips rubbed against the side of my neck. Only a kiss from Shashya can make it better. I saw through his act but didn't expose it, and I held down his hand that was wandering towards the inside of my thigh. Weren't you saying that you couldn't lift your arm? It seems the rehabilitation is very successful. How about we go through the discharge procedures tomorrow? He let out a muffled groan and suddenly frowned. His wet eyelashes cast a shadow under his eyes. I suddenly feel uncomfortable again. Maybe the wound is inflamed. I leaned over pretending to check, and blew a breath against his earlobe. Is that so? Then it's really serious. I can only try on the new little dress I bought tonight. It's a nurse's style, and it's quite appropriate. I originally wanted to show it to you. I felt the muscles in his thigh tense up instantly. Before I could finish speaking, I was pulled into his arms by him. Fu Shijue held my waist. Let me take a look. I deliberately pushed him away. How can that be? The doctor said you need to rest quietly. Fu Shijue was silent for a few seconds, and then he pulled open the bandage to reveal his firm muscles. Actually, I've almost recovered. I pinched the soft flesh on his waist and sneered, that's still not allowed. Why? Fu Shijue's breathing became a bit heavy. Didn't Mr. Fu want to pretend to be ill to get my sympathy? Why can't you keep up the act now? Yesterday you pretended that your hand was shaking and made me feed you. The day before yesterday you pretended to be dizzy and wanted to rest your head on my lap. Mr. Fu's acting skills could even win an Oscar. The more I spoke, the angrier I got, and I raised my leg and kicked him. These things aren't important. The important thing is, do you know how scared I was when the doctor told me you hadn't fully recovered? Fu Shijue held my ankle. A series of delicate kisses fell, winding their way up. Wife, I was wrong. I blushed. Whose? Your wife. Fu Shijue covered his chest and leaned back exaggeratedly. Oh no, it hurts so much here. Nurse, come and check me quickly. This scene overlapped with that bloody night in my previous life. I sat still. No, this time it really hurts. He frowned. I immediately became nervous. Where? What's uncomfortable? The next second, I was pressed underneath him. The quilt fell over us. Fu Shijue chuckled and said in a hoarse voice, please, Miss Nurse, give me a full body examination.